Yun Chujo knew that she could only save herself now, so she said timidly, I know I've made a big mistake, but at least let me say a few words, right? Humph. What else do you have to say? You're just a greedy person, otherwise, you wouldn't have cheated those disciples of their spirit stones. You must have seen the value of our Gene Peaks plaque, so you got greedy. It's really hateful. If it wasn't for the sect master, I would have slapped you to death. The Fire Peak master's eyes were red. He looked like he was going to eat someone. Yun Chujo shrunk her neck. That Mountain Master Zhao, I can understand your feelings. However, I still have to say that I did plan to steal this plaque. But the moment I touched it, it fell to the ground. If I lie, it'll be struck by lightning. Boom! A purple lightning coincidentally struck Yun Chujo. Everyone. Yun Chujo almost fainted from anger. The damn lightning hadn't even struck her grandfather when she asked it to. Now that she had made a vow, it was immediately struck down. Was it intentional? Furthermore, she wasn't lying at all. She really wasn't the one who broke the damn plaque. What else do you have to say this time? Sect Master, the evidence is conclusive. What do you think we should do? Mountain Master Zhao said angrily. Master Xiaohe's intestines were almost turning green with regret. If he had known that this person was a troublemaker, he wouldn't have brought her back to the Killing Origin clan. But now he could kill her, but he couldn't kill her, and he couldn't convince the masses. He was truly worried. Yun Chujo knew that Master Xiaohe would most likely not kill her. However, this fellow was still extremely resentful of the broken plaque on the ground. She did not know which wicked person had done such a bad thing and actually framed her. She had never suffered such a hidden loss before. Could it be that she could only admit defeat? Yun Chujo saw the problem as she looked at it. She cried out, I have evidence. I have evidence that this plaque was broken a long time ago. I did not do it. Everyone snorted coldly. They felt that Yun Chujo must be quibbling. Only Master Xiaohe asked, what evidence do you have? Yun Chujo pointed at the broken plaque on the ground and said, this plaque should be made of high-quality materials, right? How could it break when it fell on the ground? Look at the fracture. It was clearly cut by someone with a sharp weapon. It was not broken by falling at all. Furthermore, look at the place where it's broken. It's been there for a long time and there's dirt everywhere. Mountain Master Zhao squatted down and picked up half of the board. Sure enough, the crack was clearly cut by a sharp weapon. Furthermore, there was dirt on the crack. It had been broken for a long time. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so much dirt in such a small crack. Master Xiaohe picked up the other half of the plaque and examined it. He couldn't tell whether he was happy or worried. He was happy that he had gotten rid of Yun Chujia's suspicion. He didn't have to make things difficult for her. He was worried about who did this plaque. What was the purpose of it? To be able to cut off the plaque and put it back under the eyes of the people of the Shi Yuan sect? It was either an insider's doing or the person's spiritual power was very high. Just as Master Xiaohe was frowning, his hand felt light. When he looked up, his old heart almost stopped. He saw that half of the plaque was put on the ground by Yun Chujo. Then she took out a large kitchen knife and prepared to cut it down. Stop! Stop! Master Xiaohe's voice was almost breaking. The rest of the people also saw Yun Chujia's actions and shouted almost at the same time. Stop! Yun Chujo looked at them blankly. Why are you all so nervous? I just want to help remove the dirt. Since you are so worried, you can do it yourself. Everyone was embarrassed, but they couldn't be blamed. The person in front of them was a bad person. Who knew what she was going to do? Mountain Master Zhao took out a piece of cloth from his interspatial ring and started to carefully clean the wound. Yun Chujo pursed her lips. It was just a broken plaque. Was there a need to be so careful? Furthermore, the dirt might have been stored for tens of thousands of years. Could it be wiped off with a cloth? Sure enough, even after Mountain Master Zhao rubbed it off for a while, he was only able to wipe off some dust. But the dirt still couldn't be removed. Yun Chujo was in a hurry to look for the little flame. But when she saw Mountain Master Zhao dawdling, she was so anxious that she wanted to burn the room. Therefore, when no one was paying attention, she picked up the half of the board on the ground and used a large kitchen knife to cut off the dirt on it. Of course, this cut couldn't be precise, and it would hurt the original material of the board. Then he opened his eyes wide and said, "Io, there's a treasure inside." Everyone was shocked and immediately looked at the board in Yoon Chujio's hand. After Yoon Chujio cut off a thin layer, there was a thin sheepskin inside. Yoon Chujio instantly became excited. Could it be a treasure map? Before she could take out the sheepskin, the board in her hand was snatched away by Mountain Master Zhao. Yoon Chujio was angry. After all this time, she was just a passing god of wealth. However, this board was originally from the Fire Peak, so she couldn't take it back, so she could only stretch her neck to look. After taking the board, Mountain Master Zhao took out the sheepskin. On the top were the words comprehension diagram of the Killing Yuan sword intent, and below them were some small figures holding swords. There were also some notes. Yoon Chujio didn't forget anything, and after glancing at it, she memorized it. This guy thought to himself that there was something in this board and maybe there was a good treasure in the other half. Therefore, this guy took advantage of everyone's attention to get rid of the dirt on the other half of the board. But there was nothing. Yoon Chujio curled her lips. No wonder when she touched it, the broken plaque fell to the ground and broke into two halves. It turned out that the two sides were of different weights. Seeing that everyone was still studying the sheepskin, she was so anxious that she scratched her ears and cheeks. She said weakly, "Well, can you look at it again when you have time? Do you want to deal with me first?" Master Xiaoho didn't even raise his head. "The merits and faults are offset. It's none of your business. Go and play." Yoon Chujio. He didn't want his merits and demerits to be offset. He wanted to be punished to enter the self-reflection cave, alright? Well, merits are merits and demerits are demerits. I should still be punished for my mistakes. Why don't you punish me to stay in the self-reflection cave for a few days? Yoon Chujio moved closer to Master Xiaoho and said. Master Xiaoho was completely focused on that sheepskin. He didn't have the time to pay attention to Yoon Chujio. He said perfunctorily, "If I say no punishment, then there's no punishment. Don't delay me from comprehending the sword intent here. Leave quickly." Yoon Chujio was sullen. She was asking for a reward and she was asking for punishment. Why was it so hard to ask for punishment? Was it easy for her? She wanted to get into trouble, but in the end she made a contribution. How sullen was she? Yoon Chujio was anxious. She finally understood that these people's attention was on the broken sheepskin, and no one paid any attention to her. She stretched her neck and looked at the broken sheepskin again, muttering, "What's there to see? Isn't it just a blind demonstration with a broken sword?" Lung Kuei had long disliked her. Hearing her words, he said disdainfully, "You don't use a sword, so of course you don't know the profoundness inside. Of course, with your perception, even if you use a sword, you won't be able to understand it." Yoon Chujio was already burning with anxiety. Hearing Lung Kuei's words, her little temper immediately rose up. She held the big kitchen knife and sneered. "So what if I don't use a sword? I can still comprehend it with a big kitchen knife. Isn't it just this posture? What's so great about it? Don't even think about comprehending it. What's the point of comprehending it?" Yoon Chujio followed the first posture on the broken sheepskin, holding the big kitchen knife and making the same posture. Lung Kuei's eyes twitched violently. The originally proud and lofty position was now being used by this guy. It was like a chef in the kitchen killing a chicken. Yoon Chujio also felt that the position was a little ugly. She awkwardly changed to the second position, but it wasn't any better. Originally, the little people on the sheepskin looked pretty when they were put out, but when it came to her, it was inexplicably funny. This fellow gave herself a way out. It wasn't that her posture was unsightly, it was just that the person on the picture was holding a sword, and she was holding a large kitchen knife, so it didn't look too good. Lung Kuei was distracted by Yoon Chujio, so he couldn't focus on comprehending the diagram on the sheepskin. The way he looked at Yoon Chujio became even more bitter and vengeful. Yoon Chujio was already full of anger. Now that she saw Lung Kuei glaring at her, she did not want to be outdone. "Senior brother Lung Kuei, why are you glaring at me? Do you want to fight?" Lung Kuei looked at her with disdain. "You? We are not on the same level. Where are you going?" Yoon Chujio rolled her eyes. In any case, she had not liked Lung Kuei for a long time. She might as well take this opportunity to teach him a lesson. Then, she could justifiably be punished and go to the self-reflection cave. Therefore, Yoon Chujio held the large kitchen knife and slashed at Lung Kuei. Whether we are on the same level or not, we will know after we try. Take this. Lung Kuei had long wanted to teach Yun Chujo a lesson, but because of Master Xiahou, now that Yun Chujo had made the first move, he naturally would not be polite. He drew his sword and fought with Yun Chujo. Seeing that Lung Kuei actually used a sword, Yun Chujo cursed in disdain. You are shameless. You fought with me and you even used a weapon. Lung Kuei was so angry that he was twitching. Why can't I use a weapon when I'm fighting with you? Besides, he was a sword cultivator to begin with. How could he fight without a sword? In just a dozen moves, Yun Chujo was somewhat unable to withstand it. Firstly, Lung Kuei's spiritual power was higher than hers, and secondly, 1 inch was longer and 1 inch was stronger. The large kitchen knife in her hand was much shorter than Lung Kuei's treasured sword, so she was very restricted. In a moment of impatience, this fellow used the moves on the torn sheepskin. Seeing this, Lung Kuei could not help but sneer. Yun Chujo, that move of hers is to experience the sword intent, not to be used against the enemy. You're really stupid. I'm willing, it's none of your business. The first move of killing a chicken. Lung Kuei was so angry that he was twitching. This was killing him like a chicken. Today he had to teach this Yun Chujo a lesson. Lung Kuei immediately stepped up his attack. Yun Chujo was desperate. She used the positions on the torn sheepskin one by one and said with conviction, "Chicken killing swordsmanship, second move. Chicken killing swordsmanship, third move." Yun Chujo was just fooling around. Her so-called chicken slaughtering sword technique couldn't pose much of a threat to Lung Kuei. Lung Kuei also wanted to play a trick on her, so he didn't use his full strength. He just watched her play a monkey. However, after a certain Zhou used all 10 of her chicken slaughtering sword techniques, she had a vague idea in her mind. Her face turned serious. "Senior brother Lung Kuei, let's call a truce. I seem to have experienced the profundity of the chicken slaughtering sword technique." Lung Kuei pursed his lips. He thought that Yun Chujo couldn't beat him, so he made up an excuse and didn't want to expose her. Yun Chujo picked up the large kitchen knife and began to practice the so-called chicken slaughtering sword technique repeatedly. Lung Kuei watched disdainfully from the side. Yun Chujo's movements became faster and faster. The disdain on Lung Kuei's face gradually turned into surprise. The reason why Lung Kuei was so surprised wasn't that Yun Chujo's so-called chicken slaughtering sword technique was so exquisite, but that there was a faint sword intent on her body. How could this be? Lung Kuei squatted down and said to Master Xiahou, "Master, you look at Yun Chujo quickly." Master Xiahou was meditating there. Being disturbed by him, he was naturally unhappy. He cursed in his heart, "Is this Lung Kuei's brain not working properly? Why is he looking at Yun Chujo for no reason? It's not like he's full." Lung Kuei saw that Master Xiahou was not paying attention to him, so he could only tug at Master Xiaohu's sleeve. "Master, quickly take a look." Master Xiahou was holding his breath. But what was wrong with Lung Kuei? "I'm busy, don't cause trouble." Master Xiahou exerted a little force, and the miserable Lung Kuei was thrown to the ground. Lung Kuei saw that the sword intent on Yun Chujo's body seemed to be more obvious, so he did not care whether it hurt or not. He moved closer to Master Xiahou and said, "Master, quickly look at Yun Chujo. She seems to have understood the sword intent." When Master Xiahou heard the word sword intent, he was suddenly shocked and looked in the direction that Lung Kuei was pointing at. He saw that little girl holding the large kitchen knife and waving it around comically. There was no pattern at all. Her posture was the same as the one on the broken sheepskin. However, there was actually a faint sword intent on her body. How was this possible? Could it be that she could comprehend sword intent just by performing these postures a few times? Lung Kuei, imitate the little girl's appearance. Dance a few times and see if you can gain anything, Master Xiahou said to Lung Kuei. Although Lung Kuei felt that it was somewhat unreliable, he still imitated Yun Chujo's appearance and performed the postures on the broken sheepskin a few times. Other than sweating profusely, there was no gain at all. The other 4 peak masters were also paying attention to Yun Chujo at this moment, because the sword intent on Yun Chujo's body was becoming more and more obvious. Everyone looked at each other. This was really unreasonable. They had been meditating here for a long time, but they still couldn't comprehend anything. That little girl was good. She was using a broken kitchen knife to gesture, and she actually wanted to comprehend sword intent? After about an hour, a substantial sword intent formed around Yunchujio. Everyone had envious expressions on their faces. Sword intent was the highest realm that sword cultivators pursued in their entire lives. Some people would never comprehend sword intent in their entire lives. Of course, there were also people who could comprehend many sword intents. However, they did not know what kind of sword intent this little girl had comprehended. Finally, Yunchujio's sword moves began to slow down, and the sword intent around her began to dissipate. This fellow wiped the sweat on his head and muttered, "Damn. It's really hard to comprehend a sword intent. I'm so tired." Master Xiaohou and the others were so angry that their noses almost went crooked. Sword intent isn't like cabbages. Do you think you can comprehend it so easily? Besides, you only comprehended one sword intent in 2 hours. What else do you want to do? This is too infuriating. Yunchujio, what sword intent did you comprehend? And how did you comprehend it? Master Xiaohou asked quickly. The sword intent that I comprehended was absolutely unique chaos. It was just a random dance, and then I had an idea. Order in chaos, victory in chaos. In any case, it meant chaos. Yunchujio said with a smile. Everyone. Well, only this little girl could comprehend such sword intent. Because this guy was a troublemaker. Yunchujio suddenly remembered her purpose of being a demon. Her face immediately revealed an expression of guilt and self-blame. Sect Master, fellow Peak Masters, although in the end I didn't expect that there would be unexpected gains. But I still deeply realized my mistake. I implore you to send me into a self-reflection cave to reflect and let me calm down. Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect this little girl to suddenly become sensible. Could it be because she comprehended sword intent? Alright, considering that your spiritual power is low, I will punish you to the lowest level number 1 self-reflection cave. The deadline is half a month. Master Xiaohou pondered for a moment and said, Yunchujio had the intention to go to a higher level self-reflection cave, but there must be something wrong. If she persisted, she would probably arouse the suspicion of everyone. This guy suddenly remembered that Di Biming said that he would be back in a few days, so he quickly said, Master, can you spare a few days? I am afraid that my small body can't endure such a long time. Then let's make it 5 days. You're the one who needs to be punished, and you're the one who thinks that it's too long. No wonder you've comprehended the chaotic sword intent. Master Xiaohou laughed. Yunchujio laughed dryly. Then she bowed to Mountain Master Zhao with sincerity. Mountain Master Zhao, I'm really sorry. I was just being naughty just now. I didn't think that I would really steal the tablet. If I really wanted to steal it, I wouldn't have shouted, right? No matter what, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Mountain Master Zhao was extremely happy. How could he blame Yunchujio? Furthermore, Yunchujio's sincere apology caused him to put his unhappiness to the back of his mind. He felt that it wasn't bad for this little girl to know her mistakes and change them. Leng Kuei watched from the side. He felt that everyone present had been tricked by Yunchujio. With her personality, how could she voluntarily go to the self-reflection cave? She must be up to something bad. However, Leng Kuei couldn't think of anything bad that could be done by going to the self-reflection cave, so he didn't say anything. Soon, law enforcement disciples came to escort Yunchujio to the self-reflection cave. Since the self-reflection cave was at the back mountain of Fire Peak, it didn't take long for this fellow to be escorted to the self-reflection cave. The disciples on duty were stunned. Didn't this little girl come here a few hours ago to inquire about the self-reflection cave? Why did she commit a crime in such a short time? Yunchujio laughed dryly. Coincidence, coincidence. It's purely a coincidence. The disciples on duty took the document speechlessly and looked at it. Then they said to Yunchujio, Junior Sister Yun, the spiritual power attack in the first self-reflection cave is still relatively weak. You just need to be careful. There won't be any problems. Chapter 2733. Chapter 2733 has a time limit of 500 years. Yun Chujo said with a smile. Thank you for your reminder, senior brother. It's getting late. Please hurry up and send me in. The disciple on duty. A white light flashed. When Yun Chujo regained her sight, she had already arrived at a cave. Just as Yun Chujo was about to take a good look at the self-reflection cave, earth thorns began to emerge from the ground. Yun Chujo was so shocked that she quickly moved around to dodge them. Just as the earth thorns disappeared, wind blades shot out from the four walls. Yun Chujo thought to herself as she dodged. This self-reflection cave was much more ingenious than the design of the self-reflection cave. It seemed that there was no way to dig the side walls. Fortunately, she did not go into the higher-level self-reflection cave. If she could not dig the cave, wouldn't she be looking for trouble? After the wind blades passed, another round of water arrows came. After the water arrows passed, the vines on the ground began to grow again. The vines were full of sharp thorns, and they bared their fangs and brandished their claws to entangle Yun Chujo. Finally, the vines were gone, and fireballs of various sizes were thrown at her again. She had just passed through the fireballs, and before she could catch her breath, a new round of wind blade attacks began. This fellow dodged while cursing in her heart. Oh my God, are you sure this is the number 1 self-reflection cave? Why does it feel like this spiritual energy attack is not weak at all? Moreover, why doesn't she even have time to rest? The few disciples guarding the teleportation array were chatting and laughing. One of the disciples accidentally saw the shadow stone beside the teleportation array and cried out in surprise. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Oh my God. What is going on? We clearly sent Yun Chujo to the number 1 self-reflection cave just now. Why is she in the number 11 self-reflection cave now? This is nothing. Look at the time limit. We set it for 5 days, but why is it 500 years now? Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this. The transportation array of the murderous origin sect was different from that of the chaos origin sect. It was one way and would only be released when the time limit was set. The little leader who was guarding the transportation array quickly formed a seal to shorten the time limit, and then let Yun Chujo out. He didn't expect that after a while, the number on the shadow stone still remained stubbornly at 500 years, not moving at all. The little leader had a sad face as he reported the matter to the elders above. Master Xiaohou and the others who had yet to return to their own courtyard rushed to the teleportation formation in the self-reflection cave. Lung Kuei thought to himself. He said that it was a jinx. Wherever there was a problem, there would be a problem. The teleportation formation in the self-reflection cave had not encountered any problems for tens of thousands of years. How could there be a problem today? Damn it! It would be better if she was locked up in there for 500 years. Otherwise, she would come out and harm their murderous Yuan sect. However, that little girl was a weakling. Not to mention 500 years, even 5 days would probably be difficult, right? That was the 11th self-reflection cave. While Lung Kuei vented his anger, he also felt a little bad. Although that little girl was a little annoying, it was quite pitiful for her to die just like that. The few peak masters tried to modify Yun Chuji's time limit, but they still failed. Master Xiaohou felt his head buzzing. More things had happened on this day than what had happened in the entire Killing Origin sect in a year, and they were all extremely difficult problems. This self-reflection cave's teleportation array was designed by the founder of the mountain. Although it couldn't compare to the primordial chaos sect's ancient array, it couldn't be underestimated. These people only knew how to use it and couldn't break it at all. Could it be that they really wanted to lock that little girl up for 500 years? Putting aside those spiritual energy attacks, even if she was thirsty, she would still die of thirst. If they had known earlier, they wouldn't have punished her to enter the self-reflection cave. Master Xiaohou recalled that Yun Chujo had asked him for a voice transmission talisman. He hurriedly took out the voice transmission talisman and said, "That Yun Chujo, listen to me. There's a situation now." "What's the situation there?" A certain Jiu was trying her best to avoid the wind blades. After feeling the vibration of the sound transmission talisman, she quickly raised her spiritual energy shield, and sent her spiritual sense into the sound transmission talisman. Yun Chujia's heart immediately turned cold when she heard Master Xiaohe's words. If it was just a small situation, it would be impossible to find Master Xiaohe. Moreover, from the tone of old man Xiaohe, he sounded guilty. What exactly happened? Master, don't mention it. Ever since I entered, I have been attacked. Are you sure that I entered the number 1 self-reflection cave? Well, Yun Chujio, there seems to be a problem with the teleportation array, so you are currently in the number 11 self-reflection cave. Also, your time limit has somehow become 500 years. However, don't worry, we are thinking of a way. We will definitely be able to save you. A certain Jiao almost fainted when she heard Master Xiaohe's words. 500 years. Was he treating her like a monkey? Monkey Sun had been suppressed for 500 years because he caused a ruckus in the heavenly court. She was very innocent, okay? She was here to look for Little Flame. Was there a need to lock her up for 500 years? If she was trapped here for 500 years, wouldn't the pretty boy be a bachelor for 500 years? This fellow wanted to give Master Xiaohe a good scolding, but this fellow was very smart. Now that he had a request, it was better to tuck his tail between his legs. Thus, this fellow said pitifully, Master, I believe in you. However, my spiritual power is too weak, so I will try my best to hold on until you guys save me. If Yun Chujio vented her anger, Master Xiaohe would feel better. He didn't expect the little girl to not make a fuss, which made him feel even more guilty. Everyone was thinking of a solution outside. Let's not talk about unlucky Joe for now. The spiritual power attack finally stopped temporarily. The unlucky child sat on the ground and panted heavily. The teleportation array would not have problems for no reason. It was either the array itself or man-made. However, the teleportation array was formed by several people at the same time, so it should be difficult to tamper with it. Then the problem should be the array. Could it be that the Qi-Ling had already been born? Yun Chujio also felt that it was unlikely. After all, the reflection cave of the primordial chaos sect was much older than this self-reflection cave. Even the reflection cave did not give birth to a Qi-Ling, so it was even more impossible for it to give birth to a Qi-Ling. Could it be that the formation was broken? Yun Chujio thought of her purpose for coming here again and hurriedly contacted the Little Flame. Although the Little Flame had yet to recognize its master, it might have stayed in Yun Chujio's body for a long time. If she were to carefully sense it, she could sense a faint connection. The Little Flame's cheerful mood was transmitted through her spiritual sense. Yun Chujio could not help but curse secretly. It was eating happily, but she was unlucky. A thought flashed through Yun Chujio's mind. She could not help but curse herself for being an idiot. Even if the Little Flame wanted to eat the 1,000-year-old fire marrow, it would not come to the self-reflection cave. It should go to the place where the 1,000-year-old fire marrow was buried. Moreover, the Little Flame might not be able to enter the self-reflection cave. She did not think it through clearly and turned into a demon to bring herself in. She was really out of her mind. This fellow did not waste the name of the self-reflection cave. After a moment of self-reflection, he looked around and prepared to save himself. Yun Chujio knew that there was an array formation on the sidewall, so after she set up the spiritual energy barrier, she tentatively chopped down with the large kitchen knife. Sure enough, it was blocked by an invisible barrier, so the large kitchen knife was obviously not going to work. This guy's eyes rolled around. Barrier? What was the best way to break the barrier? Talisman. Coincidentally, she had a lot of talismans. Then what was she waiting for? Blow it up. Master Xiaohe and company were busy discussing how to save Yun Chujio. Of course, it wasn't just for her. After all, this self-reflection cave was an important part of the sky-killing sect. If it failed, how would they punish their disciples in the future? At this moment, everyone heard a loud explosion from underground and could even feel the ground shaking. Mountain Master Zhao roared, "Earth Dragon Flip! It must be the Earth Dragon Flip! Quick retreat!" Everyone immediately fell into chaos. Master Xiaohe told everyone to stay calm. Even if it was the Earth Dragon Flip, as long as they didn't get injured by the Earth Chi, they would be fine. Only then did everyone calm down, but they were still panicking. Although cultivators were more powerful than mortals, in the end they were not gods. When they encountered a natural disaster like the Earth Dragon's reversal, they were powerless. Moreover, every time the Earth Dragon's reversal occurred in the Immortal Essence continent, there would be a gush of Earth Chi. This kind of Earth Chi was very destructive. Even for a mighty figure like Master Xiahou, if he encountered a large-scale explosion of Earth Chi, it would be a disaster. When the entire Murderous Origin sect heard the news of the Earth Dragon turning over, they were so scared that they quickly rode their swords into the air, ready to run for their lives at any time. Leng Kuei stood on the sword and felt that all of this was because of that disaster star Yun Chuzhou. Thinking back to half a month ago, their Murderous Origin sect was so peaceful and peaceful. However, ever since that Yun Chuzhou came, something happened every 2 to 3 days. Now, even a natural disaster had appeared. When Leng Kuei thought of this, he looked at Master Xiahou with resentment. Master Xiahou was trying to calm everyone's emotions. When he felt Leng Kuei's gaze, he couldn't help but frown. Why did this child seem to have lost his mind recently? At this moment, the sound of an explosion came from underground again. Everyone's heart was in their throats. If it really was the Earth Dragon turning over, even if they could escape, the foundation of the Murderous Origin sect for tens of thousands of years would be destroyed in an instant. That would be a catastrophe for the Murderous Origin sect. Peak Master Emo of Water Mountain frowned. Sect Master, if an ordinary Earth Dragon turns over, it would definitely be accompanied by earth cracks. Moreover, the demonic beasts would also be terrified. However, there are no signs of such a thing happening right now. Therefore, I don't think it looks like the Earth Dragon turning over. The others had also calmed down at this moment. It really didn't seem like the Earth Dragon turning over. Then what exactly was going on? Why was there such a huge explosion underground? Leng Kuei cried out in surprise. I know. It must be that Jinx Yun Chuzhou. Isn't she trapped in the self-reflection cave? She probably used a talisman to blow up the self-reflection cave. Everyone's first reaction was absurd. How could someone use a talisman to blow up the self-reflection cave? However, when they thought of the person Leng Kuei suspected and her usual actions, they couldn't help but feel that this statement was much more believable. Master Xiahou quickly took out the voice transmission talisman. Yun Chuzhou, what are you doing? Are you really using the talisman to blow up your self-reflection hole? Not long after, the voice transmission talisman began to vibrate. Master Xiahou hurriedly sent his spiritual sense into it, and Yun Chuzhi's sigh came from within. Master, I don't want to do this either. I'm also very helpless. But I think that it's best if you do what you can yourself. Anyway, I have nothing to do, so I'll try to blow it up. If I can get out, won't it save you guys from getting anxious? Besides, I really don't want to be trapped here for 500 years. I'm not Sun Monkey. Master Zaya's face was stiff. He didn't know what kind of mood he was in. Shocked? Angry? Surprised? Curious? He couldn't figure it out. Also, what did the little girl mean by Sun Monkey? His surname was Xiahou. She said that she wasn't Sun Monkey. Did she mean that she wasn't his granddaughter? What a mess. Master Xiahou calmed his emotions and said, Everyone, don't worry. This is not the Earth Dragon turning over. It's Yun Chuzhou using the talisman to blow up the self-reflection cave. Everyone returned to normal order. Everyone was furious. This Yun Chuzhou was really too good at playing tricks. Even if she was locked up in the self-reflection cave, she could still create such a big commotion. No wonder the Primordial Chaos sect was eager to bring her into their Murderous Origin sect. Their Master Xiahou was really too naive. Master, do you think that Yun Chuzhou can really blow up the self-reflection cave? I think it's quite difficult. If it were that easy to blow up, the self-reflection cave wouldn't have existed for tens of thousands of years, said Peak Master Emo of the Water Mountain. Leng Kuei cursed silently at the side. That was because he hadn't met that disaster, Yun Chuzhou. If he had met her, not to mention the self-reflection cave, any cave would have been blown up by her. Master Xiahou didn't say anything. He felt that his brain wasn't enough. This day had been too exciting. He was getting old and he really couldn't bear it. Boom! Boom! The sound of continuous explosions came from underground. He didn't know how many talismans Yun Chuzhou had. But the explosions continued even after such a long time. A certain Jiao in the self-reflection cave had her ears tightly wrapped so that she wouldn't be damaged by the loud noise. Then she threw stack after stack of explosive talismans on the side wall. Finally, the barrier was broken. There was no need to mention this guy's complacency. Did you see that? As expected, it was better to have more skills than to have more talismans prepared. It was still useful at critical moments. This guy went to the gap of the barrier and took a look. The rocks on the wall were just ordinary rocks. As long as Xiao Hei moved its claws, she could get out. Just when this guy was feeling complacent, a white light suddenly flashed in front of his eyes. When he regained his sight, if he did not have a defensive spiritual artifact on him to block it, this guy would have been shot like a hedgehog. Yun Chujiu felt as if 10,000 divine beasts were whizzing past her heart. What the fuck? You can't bully people like that. She had actually been teleported to another self-reflection cave. Although she did not know what level it was, judging from the strength of the spiritual power attack, it would only be higher than number 11 and not lower than number 11. At this moment, Master Xiaohe's voice transmission talisman began to vibrate. After Yun Chujiu sent her spiritual sense in, she heard Master Xiaohe ask anxiously, "How is it? Has the enchantment been blown up?" Yun Chujiu wanted to cry, but no tears came out. "Master, tell me, how many self-reflection caves are there? I think if I want to go out, I will probably have to blow up all the self-reflection caves." Outside, when Master Xiaohe received Yun Chujiu's voice transmission talisman, his body tilted and he almost fainted. Master, what happened to you? What did that disaster say?" Leng Kuei held Master Xiaohe and asked anxiously. The other 4 peak masters also looked at Master Xiaohe. They had a bad premonition in their hearts. Since Master Xiaohe could lose his composure like this, something very serious must have happened. Master Xiaohe looked at the crowd with lifeless eyes and said with a sobbing voice, "The self-reflection cave is going to be destroyed. The self-reflection cave that has existed for tens of thousands of years is going to be destroyed by me." "Master, if that Yun Chujiu wanted to blow up, shouldn't she just blow up the 11th self-reflection cave? How could other self-reflection caves be destroyed?" Leng Kuei asked in confusion. Master Xiaohe gritted his teeth and said, "She told me that she was sent to another self-reflection cave. She even asked me how many self-reflection caves there were. She also said that if she wanted to come out, she would have to blow up all the self-reflection caves." While everyone was shocked, they were very puzzled. Under normal circumstances, couldn't they only be sent to the self-reflection caves through a teleportation array? After Yun Chujiu blew up the 11th self-reflection cave, how could she be sent to another self-reflection cave? However, now was not the time to discuss the reason. Could it be that they could only watch as the self-reflection caves were blown up, letting the foundation of the Shi Yuan sect that had existed for tens of thousands of years be destroyed just like that? "Sect Master, we must stop Yun Chujiu. We can't let her continue to blow up. We just need to think of a way to save her," said Peak Master Mo of Water Mountain. Master Xiaohe looked at him with a hopeless expression. "Stop her? How? Do you think she will listen to me if I don't let her blow up?" Peak Master Mo choked. "That's right. If he were in their shoes, he would also blow up if he was trapped inside and knew that he would only be released after 500 years. Peak Master who had been silent all this time, said tentatively, "Sect Master, I think that little girl may be willful, but she seems to be a soft-hearted person. Why don't you use some soft words to comfort her? Maybe we can use this time to think of a way to save her." Everyone felt that this method was feasible and nodded in agreement. Master Xiaohe had no choice but to take out the voice transmission talisman and said to Yun Chujiu in an extremely gentle voice, "Master Xiaohe, don't blow yourself up. Yun, that little 9th girl, I understand your eagerness to come out, but this self-reflection cave is the foundation of our Killing Yuan sect that has been passed down for tens of thousands of years. Can you not blow it up for the time being? Give us some time. If we can't think of a way to save you, can you blow it up again?" After Master Xiaohe finished speaking, he nervously stared at the voice transmission talisman in his hand. The others also waited nervously. They didn't know if that reckless little girl would give Master Xiahou face. After waiting for a long time, the voice transmission talisman finally trembled. Master Xiahou couldn't wait to send his spiritual sense in. From inside came Yunchujia's powerful words. Master, look at what you said. I am also a member of the murderous origin sect. I also have the responsibility to protect the foundation of our murderous origin sect. However, you also know that my spiritual power is low, and I don't know how many self-reflection holes I have now. Anyway, I don't think I can hold on for too long, so you guys should quickly think of a way. At most half a day's time. If you guys don't have any good ideas, I can only blow up the holes. Master Xiahou was almost moved to tears. Although this Yunchujia was usually unimportant, she still had a good view of the big picture at the critical moment. Master Xiahou relayed Yunchujia's words to everyone. Everyone sighed. The crux of the problem now was how to save Yunchujia. If they couldn't save her, there would still be a hole in the end. Everyone discussed and even invited the Grand Elder out, but there was still no solution. Half a day was about to pass. Everyone looked at each other. What should they do? Lung Kuei said from the side, Master, that Yunchujia is a person who is willing to sacrifice her life and money. If you promise her a large sum of money, she will definitely agree to extend the time. Master Xiahou was skeptical. Although he heard that the little girl was greedy, she was now trapped in the self-reflection cave. Would she extend the time for the spirit stones? Master Xiahou was determined to give it a try. He took out the voice transmission talisman and asked Yunchujia, well, little Jiu, although you gave us half a day, we haven't found a solution yet. Can we extend the time? Don't worry, I won't let you suffer in vain. The sect will give you spirit stones as compensation. What do you think? The voice transmission talisman soon trembled. Master Xiahou sent his spiritual sense in and heard Yunchujia's righteous voice. Master Xiahou, what are you saying? Do you think I'm a greedy person? Without money, can't people communicate with each other? Well, how much do you plan to give me? Master Xiahou almost burst into tears when he heard that. But he almost threw away his voice transmission talisman in anger. This little girl, she was greedy for money, but she had to say a bunch of high-sounding words. She was really crafty. In the end, the two of them bargained and made a deal with Chan Shur at the price of 2 hours and 10 high-grade spirit stones. Master Xiahou also understood that the little girl wanted money, because she was afraid that they would delay, and not save her. If she really wanted money that badly, she could have asked for more. Although they had spent money to buy time, the people of the primordial killing sect were still at a loss. It seemed that there was no other way to save Yunchujia except to blow up a hole. At this moment, someone reported that Master Bailey of the primordial killing sect had arrived. Master Xiaohu's mood was very complicated. Not long ago, he had gone to the primordial killing sect to watch the show. He did not expect that the tide would turn now. It was the turn of that old geezer, by Li Yin, to laugh at the primordial killing sect. Master Bailey's reason was very dignified. Yunchujia was also a disciple of the primordial chaos sect. When she was in trouble, the primordial chaos sect naturally could not sit idly by. Master Bailey even brought Elder Jing here because Elder Jing was the person with the highest attainments in formations of the primordial chaos sect. Although Elder Jing had been tormented by Yunchujia the last time, compared to Yunchujia being trapped in the cave of self-reflection, he was more willing to strangle her to death with his own hands. Master Xiahou brought the two of them to the teleportation formation in the cave of self-reflection. Elder Jing and the elders of the Killing Origin sect, who were proficient in formations, discussed how to break the teleportation formation. Master Bailey chatted with Master Xiahou casually. Master Xiahou, how come I haven't seen you for a few days? You look much more haggard. Master Xiahou snorted coldly. Why ask when you already know? Let's make a deal first. When the 3-month period is up, I will send this Yunchujia back to your primordial chaos sect. In the future, don't come to our killing primordial sect. She was originally a member of your primordial chaos sect. Master Bailey glanced at him. Master Xiahou, this person doesn't stand by his words. We had an agreement back then that we would split the treasure we dug up with half of our family. Therefore, this Yun Chujo will be a disciple of our two sects in the future. Moreover, I also advised you not to bring Yun Chujo back. You didn't listen. It's too late to regret now. Master Xiaohou was speechless. If he had known that this was a troublemaker, he wouldn't have brought her back to the Shi Yuan sect even if he had to pay for it. He was wrong. He should never have brought this scourge back to the Shi Yuan sect. He was the sinner of the Shi Yuan sect. It was easy to invite the gods but hard to send them away. It seemed that there was no way to return this bad news back. The only consolation was that she did not only harm their Shi Yuan sect, but also the Han Yuan sect. A certain Zhou did not know that she had already been despised. This fellow was currently in a self-reflection cave trying to figure out how to get out. She did not have much hope for Master Xiaohou and the others. After all, this was a formation from tens of thousands of years ago. Even if she could find a way to break it, it would take at least a year or so. She still had a lot of things to do. She still had a date with the pretty boy. She didn't want to be trapped here. Moreover, the spiritual attacks from time to time were really deadly. Even if she had a lot of defensive spirit tools, she couldn't waste them like this. Blowing up the holes was the worst plan because according to Master Xiaohou, there were a total of 20 self-reflection holes. If all of them were blown up, it would probably take several days. Moreover, talisman seals were free and talisman papers were not cheap, okay? In the end, how could she get out? Yun Chujo frowned and thought about it. The crux of the problem was, what exactly caused her to be locked up for 500 years? Also, why was she transferred to the self-reflection cave after she blew up the 11th self-reflection cave? Everything in the world had a cause and effect. Who was the one who caused the trouble? Yun Chujo felt that there should not be any weapon spirits in the self-reflection cave, because none of the weapon spirits would allow her to blow up the self-reflection cave without taking action. Then what exactly was going on? Yun Chujo recalled the incident in the ancient sword tomb. Back then, the ancient sword tomb suddenly collapsed. Although no reason was found after that, it was highly likely that the Divine Devil Hall had done something to it. Could it be that the Divine Devil Hall did something to it again? This made sense. That Elder Li from the Chaos Origin sect was a member of the Divine Devil Hall. Perhaps there were people from the Divine Devil Hall in the Murder Origin sect as well. When he learned that she would be locked in the self-reflection cave, he tampered with the formation of the self-reflection cave. After all, the people from the Divine Devil Hall seemed to be very proficient in the ancient formation. In that case, if he wanted to get out, the breakthrough point should not be placed on the teleportation array, but on the array formation in the Cave of Introspection. Yun Chujo told Master Xiaohou about her guess, and Master Xiaohou was shocked. He had no idea who was the spy in the sect now. Moreover, most importantly, for so many years, they only knew the location of the teleportation array, and did not know where the array disk of the Cave of Introspection was. Yun Chujo secretly thought that it must have been because Hongyuan Old Group was in a hurry to find Patriarch Yuan Tian to compete with him back then, so there were many things that they did not explain clearly. For example, the location of the formation disk of the Introspection Cave, or the plaque on Jinfeng. Perhaps there were still many unsolved cases in the Killing Origin sect. Yun Chujo sighed. Since she could not find the location of the formation disk, it seemed that there was no other way except to blow up the cave. Although she would definitely waste a lot of talismans, her life was still more important, wasn't it? Yun Chujo decided to give Master Xiaohou some more time. In any case, she didn't need these few hours. Outside the self-reflection cave, Elder Jing was studying the teleportation formation with a few elders of the Shi Yuan sect, who were proficient in formations. Elder Jing frowned. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with this teleportation formation. Can someone demonstrate the process of forming the seal for me to take a look? Of course, this wasn't a big problem, so an elder called over the people guarding the teleportation formation and asked them to demonstrate. Those people quickly came over to demonstrate. They also hoped that the teleportation formation could be repaired. After all, guarding the teleportation formation was a good job, and it would be a pity to lose it. The few disciples guarding the teleportation formation saw Yunchuji's reflection on the shadow stone, so they started to form seals. Of course, they didn't have any hope of getting Yunchujo out. They only wanted Elder Jing to see how they formed the seals. However, after they finished forming the seals, a little girl appeared in the middle of the teleportation formation with a dumbfounded expression. Yunchujo looked at the crowd with a blank expression. Did you guys fix the teleportation formation? Master Xiaohou, Master Bailey, everyone? What the hell? How did this teleportation formation suddenly come into use? Yunchujo saw Elder Jing at a glance. She was so moved that tears welled up in her eyes. Elder Jing, I knew that a good person like you would forget about the past and save me. Did you fix the teleportation formation? I knew that your attainments in formations were unprecedented. Elder Jing's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He felt that this was the worst time he had ever been defamed. He clearly didn't do anything right. That wasn't right. This was also indirectly his credit. After all, if he hadn't asked those disciples to demonstrate the teleportation formation, Yunchujo wouldn't have been able to come out. Elder Jing snorted coldly. You don't have to thank me. This formation suddenly became normal. I don't know what happened either. Yunchujo suddenly became normal? What kind of trick was this? Could it be that the people of the Divine Devil Hall had a conscience? This was simply impossible. It seemed that it was not the Divine Devil Hall's fault. What exactly was going on? Everyone present was confused. However, no matter what, Yunchujo was safely rescued and her self-reflection cave was also saved. This was a good thing for everyone. Master Xiaohou finally let out a sigh of relief. Although he could not find the problem with the self-reflection cave for the time being, at least he did not let the little girl blow up all the self-reflection caves. He was thankful to the heavens. Since there was nothing else, Master Bailey proposed to take his leave. Master Xiaohou and he hated each other, so he did not urge him to stay any longer. He looked at Yunchujo who was standing beside him. Then he said, Yunchujo, it just so happens that Master Bailey is returning to the Primordial Chaos Sect. Do you want to go back and take a look as well? Your fellow disciples must miss you very much. Before Yunchujo could say anything, Master Bailey said, Little girl Jinji and the others are doing well. You can rest assured and cultivate in the Primordial Murder Sect. If the 3 months are up, if you still want to stay in the Primordial Murder Sect, I believe Master Xiaohou won't object. Bai Liyin, what are you talking about? We agreed to rotate once every 3 months. If it's 3 months, how can she still stay in the Primordial Murder Sect? Xiaohou Lin, I was just saying that. Look at your anxious and pale face. You're really lacking in manners. Yunchujo looked left and right. Why did it sound like she didn't want her? Was she being looked down on? Damn it. This was outrageous. She was her ancestor. How dare she look down on her? Let's wait and see. Master Bailey said a few words to Master Xiaohou, then left with Elder Jing in a hurry. Yunchujo pursed her lips. Was she afraid that she would go back with him? She didn't do anything that angered the heavens or angered the people. Besides, she was still very low-key in the Primordial Chaos Sect. Why did she dislike her so much? Just as Yunchujo was cursing in her heart, she heard Master Xiaohou say, Yunchujo, try to move around the big kitchen in the future. This will be good for you and everyone else. The corner of Yunchuji's eyes twitched violently. Was this a disguised form of grounding? In your dreams. Master, did I do something wrong? Why didn't you let me go around? Yunchujo asked pitifully. Master Xiaohou coughed dryly. You didn't do anything wrong, but as you can see, everywhere you go it doesn't seem to be peaceful. I'm doing this for your own good. What if something happens again? Master Sect Leader, I can't agree with your words. First, these things are purely coincidental. Second, I didn't cause any trouble. I've made a meritorious deed. I won't say much about the Fire Peak plaque. I'll just talk about this self-reflection cave. If I didn't test the cave, would you know that this self-reflection cave is crazy? If others were to be locked up, they might end up in it for the rest of their lives. Besides, in order to protect my cave of self-reflection, I am willing to suffer in the cave. Oh right, Master Sect Leader, shouldn't we calculate the spirit stones? At this point, he remembered that there was still money to be confiscated. Master Xiahou laughed. Well, what you said makes sense. Just be careful in the future. Also, as for the spirit stones, because you blew up a cave of self-reflection, we are even. I remember that I still have something important to do. Let's talk about it later. After Master Xiahou finished speaking, he left in a hurry. Yun Chujiu. Was old man Xiahou trying to renege on his debt? When the others saw that Master Xiahou had left, they also found excuses to escape. Only Leng Kuei and the few disciples guarding the teleportation array were left. Leng Kuei glared at Yun Chujiu fiercely. Yun Chujiu, if I were you, I would stay in the dormitory obediently so that I wouldn't cause harm to others and myself. Yun Chujiu did not want to hang him up. She glanced at him. What harm did I do to you? If it weren't for me, would Fire Peak have made such a big discovery? If it weren't for me, you might have been punished to reflect on yourself one day, and be imprisoned for 500 years. How could Leng Kuei beat Yun Chujiu? He was so angry that he almost vomited blood and left in a huff. Yun Chujiu rubbed her chin and pondered. She did not dare to enter the self-reflection cave anymore. It was better to wait for the little flame nearby. After such a long time, it should be back soon. Therefore, Yun Chujiu sat on a recliner not far from the teleportation array and basked in the sun. The few disciples guarding the teleportation array were scared stiff. What was this Yun Chujiu up to this time? What was she doing there? While Yun Chujiu was resting with her eyes closed, she sensed the little flame getting closer and closer with her spiritual sense. She was afraid that the little flame would be discovered by the disciples, so she quickly found a slightly remote place. Just as the little flame was looking around, a red light jumped into her right palm. The little flame was afraid of being discovered, so it quickly returned to its own courtyard. Although the little flame was not very intelligent, Yun Chujiu could still feel its excitement. When it entered the house, the little flame jumped out from its right palm and floated in front of Yun Chujiu. Yun Chujiu guessed and understood what the little flame meant. It meant that it had found several thousand-year-old fire pith and fought with them for a long time. In the end it won. Yun Chujiu had a flash of inspiration. The place where the thousand-year-old fire pith was found was most likely near the formation plate. Could it be that the formation plate had a seizure because it was affected by the little flame and the others? The more Yun Chujiu thought about it, the more she felt that her analysis made sense. Then the problem was, did she deserve it? Yun Chujiu felt a little guilty for some reason. Fortunately, she blamed the Divine Devil Hall, or else she would be beaten up even more. Yun Chujiu felt that it was necessary to educate the little flame. She could not always run around without organization or discipline. Little flame, I'm warning you. If you run away without saying goodbye in the future, I won't want you anymore. You will become a lonely soul in the future. It was unknown whether the little flame understood or not, but it crawled into Yun Chujiu's right palm with a drooping head. Yun Chujiu did not dare to sleep last night, so she simply washed up and lay on the bed to fall asleep. She slept until the next morning. After washing up, she went to the kitchen to show off her power, and then she thought about where to go for a walk. The Golden Peak and the Fire Peak were almost done, so she would go to the Wood Peak for a walk. When Yun Chujiu reached the entrance of the Wood Peak, she saw many signs at the entrance. Yun Chujiu is not allowed to enter. Yun Chujiu is the most unwelcome person in our Wood Peak. For the sake of your safety and the safety of others, please stay away from Yun Chujiu. Yun Chujiu's nose was almost crooked from anger. This was blatant discrimination. What was wrong with her? Why was she forbidden to enter the Wood Peak? Why was she unwelcome? The most infuriating thing was that there was an additional fence at the entrance of the Wood Peak. It was obviously to prevent fire, theft, and Yun Chujiu. When the servants guarding the fence saw Yun Chujiu coming, they looked as if they were facing a great enemy. They shouted loudly, "Yun Chujiu, didn't you see the sign we put up? Step back quickly, we don't welcome you in the Wood Peak." If Yun Chuzhou believed in evil, she wouldn't be Yun Chuzhou. She sneered and kicked the signs to pieces. Are you guys sick? Did I steal your Wood Peak's grass or burn your Wood Peak's mountain? The sect master didn't forbid me to go anywhere. Don't tell me that your Wood Peak still wants to be independent? Is this your decision or Mountain Master Ren's idea? Those odd-job workers had never seen such a valiant girl before. They were all dumbfounded. One of them took out his identity jade token and seemed to be sending a message to someone. Yun Chuzhou curled her lips. She did not think that Mountain Master Ren of the Wood Peak had the leisure to target her. It must be some bastard who did not like her. Not long after, a female disciple wearing the uniform of an inner sect disciple walked over. A few male disciples followed beside her with fawning expressions. Yun Chuzhou had not been in the Shi Yuan sect for long, so she did not know these people. She crossed her arms and looked at them calmly. The female disciple sized up Yun Chuzhou. Are you that disaster star, Yun Chuzhou? If I were you, I would stay in the dormitory obediently to avoid being annoying. You still want to be shameless? If you were me, you look like a toad. Can you be compared to me? You are really shameless. The female disciple was instantly killed by a certain Jiao. That female disciple was so angry that her face turned red. With a ferocious expression she said, Yun Chuzhou, you don't want to be shameless. This is our Wood Peak's territory, get lost. Or else. A certain Jiao held a basket in her left hand and a basket in her right hand, interrupting that female disciple's words. Or else what? Enter the competition stage? I can't wait for that. Come, it's you. Let's go. Follow me to the competition stage. These 2 baskets of talismans shouldn't be a problem to deal with, you, right? The female disciple saw the talismans in the 2 baskets and subconsciously took a few steps back. Didn't they say that Yun Chuzhou used a lot of talismans in the self-reflection cave? Why were there so many? Did she bring all the talismans from her shop? A hawk-nosed person next to the female disciple said disdainfully, Yun Chuzhou, what kind of ability do you think you can rely on talismans? If you have the ability, don't use talismans. Let's use spiritual power to compete. Yun Chuzhou looked at the hawk-nosed disciple as if he was an idiot. Are you out of your mind? If I have talismans, why don't I use them? What? Do you want to fight on behalf of your beloved? Sure, you can too. Let's go. Follow me to the competition stage. The male disciple shook his head like a rattle drum. What a joke. He was not stupid. If he went up, he would be looking for trouble. He would not go. Yun Chuzhou pointed at the other male disciples. If he doesn't go, do you guys want to go? Anyway, I'm very bored now. I'll let you guys experience the power of the talisman seal. The male disciples looked around but did not look at Yun Chuzhou. Clearly, they did not want to bring trouble upon themselves. TSK, that little guy. I feel sad for you. You said that your admirers are more cowardly than one. Then it's you. Let's go and play on the competition stage. Yun Chuzhou hooked her finger at the female disciple. The female disciple bit her lips and ran away with her mouth covered. The male disciples glared at Yun Chuzhou angrily and followed behind her, calling her junior sister Shanshan. Apparently, they were trying to curry favor with her. Yun Chuzhou looked away and looked at the servants. When the servants saw that the inner disciples had been scared away, how would they dare to stop them? They hurriedly removed the guardrail and said with a smile, Junior sister Yun, we are also following orders. Please show mercy and spare us. Yun Chuzhou curled her lips. Who is that ugly freak? The corners of the servants' eyes twitched. One of the servants replied, that is Chu Shanshan, an inner disciple of our Wood Peak. Just an inner disciple? What kind of backing does she have? Yun Chuzhou did not think that an inner disciple would dare to do such a thing. Her biological brother, Chu Quan, is the true disciple of Mountain Master Ren. Therefore, we don't dare to offend her. One of the servants said submissively, is that all? What else? Why is she targeting me? This is just a guess. I heard that Chu Shanshan has always been in love with senior brother Long Kue. Recently, someone said that junior sister Yoon is very close to senior brother Lung Kue. I guess she is jealous. Yoon Chujio was baffled. She was close to Lung Kue? They did not like each other, okay? This was an unexpected disaster. Yoon Chujio gave a few perfunctory words to the servants before entering the wood peak. The disciples of the wood peak basically all had wood element spiritual roots, so the scenery of the wood peak was very beautiful. As Yoon Chujio strolled around, she forgot about what had just happened. However, no matter how beautiful the scenery was, after seeing it for too long, she would get tired of it. Just as she was about to go to the neighboring water mountain for a stroll, she saw many disciples of the wood peak running towards a direction in a hurry. Yoon Chujio's eyes immediately lit up. According to her experience, the places where people gathered were either lively to watch or had treasures. No matter which one it was, Yoon Chujio would naturally not miss it. She also followed the crowd and ran forward. When Yoon Chujio heard everyone running and talking about eggs, she couldn't help but feel puzzled. Eggs? Could it be that a demon beast had laid an egg? Did a demon beast need to be so sensational to lay an egg? This fellow didn't dare to ask, because this fellow knew his own limits. Now that her reputation wasn't too good, it would be bad if she was chased out again. Yoon Chujio followed the crowd and ran all the way to the back mountain of the wood peak. When Yoon Chujio arrived, there were already many disciples of the wood peak gathered there. Their goal was obviously a huge tree in front of them. However, to be precise, it was a huge vine. Yoon Chujio had read quite a few magazine articles in the library of the Primordial Chaos sect. She had actually seen the introduction of this vine. This vine was called thorn. That's right, there was only one word in its name. It could be said that this name was very appropriate because the leaves of this vine were like sharp thorns. Moreover, there were barbs on the thorns. If it was within its attack range, it could be said that there was only a slim chance of survival. The reason why everyone could be at ease and boldly surround that vine was because there was a formation barrier around the vine, so it had no way of attacking everyone. Yoon Chujio understood the purpose of their visit after some thought. The egg they were talking about should be the seed of this vine. The seed of this vine was very special. It was like an egg with a white shell on the outside and only a few dozen seeds inside. The people of Wood Peak basically had wood-type spiritual roots. Their attack method was to accelerate the growth of the seeds and then attack. Therefore, they were naturally very interested in the seeds of this vine. It was said that this vine only bloomed once every 1,000 years. Moreover, the flowering period was less than an hour. After the flower withered, it would directly bear the seeds. This could also explain why the disciples of the Wood Peak rushed over. They were afraid that others would get there first and would not be able to snatch more seeds. Yoon Chujio discovered that these people also had their own way of standing. The inner disciples stood at the front, which was also the most advantageous position. Next were the outer disciples. As for the servants, they were already very far away from the vine. Yoon Chujio was looking around when sect leader Ren of the Wood Peak arrived. Behind sect leader Ren were a few elders of the Wood Peak and their core disciples. Chu Shanshan was standing beside a male disciple. It was probably her brother, Chu Quan. Although Chu Shanshan was an inner disciple, because of Chu Quan, the other core disciples didn't say anything. After all, there were many seeds on the vines, so she wasn't alone. Chu Shanshan's face was very proud. She felt that as long as she worked hard and had her brothers help to put in some good words, she might be able to become a successive disciple. Just as Chu Shanshan was feeling proud, she glanced around and saw Yoon Chujio in the crowd. Chu Shanshan recalled Yoon Chujio's words that had humiliated her, and her eyes immediately flashed with anger. She pretended to be unintentional and said, "Brother, look, isn't that Yoon Chujio? Why is she here? She's not here to cause trouble, right? Shanshan, don't talk nonsense. Junior sister Yoon is probably just curious and came to watch the show." Chu Quan had heard Chu Shanshan talking about how she was bullied by Yoon Chujio. Therefore, he looked at Yoon Chujio with a hostile gaze. However, he was much more shrewd than Chu Shanshan. Humph. Isn't the reason why she turned the self-reflection cave upside down because she's curious? In any case, she's a jinx, Chu Shanshan said indignantly. What jinx? It's just a coincidence. Chu Quan raised his voice. It seemed like he was angry that Chu Shanshan had said something so rude, but he said it for Mountain Master Ran and the other elders to hear. The thorn was a major event that happened once every 1,000 years on the Wood Peak. Naturally, Mountain Master Run did not want anything to go wrong. Hence, after listening to Chu Quan's words, he turned his head and saw a certain Jiao who was trying her best to reduce her presence. Mountain Master Run frowned. Sometimes it was better to believe in something than to not believe in something. Strange things happen frequently wherever Yun Chuzhou went. If she delayed the collection of the thorn seeds, things would not be good. The thorn seeds were different from other demon seeds. They had to be stored in the storage ring before they landed. Otherwise, they would instantly turn into powder. Therefore, no accidents were allowed. Although Mountain Master Ren thought so, as the Mountain Master, he was too embarrassed to chase Yun Chuzhou away. Therefore, he did not stop Chu Shanshan's words. He thought that it was possible to use her to chase Yun Chuzhou away. When Chu Quan saw that Mountain Master Run did not say anything, he understood a little. Therefore, when Chu Shanshan walked towards Yun Chuzhou to pick a fight, he did not stop her. Hey Yun Chuzhou, did you not hear what I just said? Don't come and harm our Wood Peak, you jinx, get lost. If you delay our Wood Peak in collecting the eggs, you will be a great sinner of our Wood Peak. Chu Shanshan was now much more confident than before, hence, her attitude became even more arrogant. The reason why the people of Wood Peak called the thorn seeds eggs was firstly because they were similar in shape. Secondly, they were afraid that if they said it, they would not be able to harvest the seeds. This was also a kind of psychological hint. If it was in the past, Yun Chuzhou would be very happy to play with this little bitch. Now she could not be bothered with this little grasshopper. She did not even glance at Chu Shanshan. Instead, she walked directly to Mountain Master Ren. Mountain Master Run, I want to watch the show. You won't forbid it, right? Such a big event. After I watch it, I can return to the primordial chaos sect to show off, right? Yun Chuzhou said mischievously. Although Mountain Master Ren was 100 times unhappy, he was afraid that this fellow would go back to the primordial chaos sect to ridicule him. He could only say against his will, of course not. If you're willing to watch it, then just watch it. Mountain Master Run thought for a moment before adding, the position here is good. Just stand by my side. The reason why Mountain Master Run added this sentence was because he felt that Yun Chuzhou could not cause trouble under his nose. This way he would be able to feel at ease. Yun Chuzhou was not stupid. Naturally, she knew what Mountain Master Ren meant. She obediently stood by Mountain Master Ren's side and watched as the flower buds on the thorns began to bloom. Chu Shanshan was so angry that she stomped her feet. However, she did not dare to act rashly in front of Mountain Master Ren. She could only glare at Yun Chuzhou's back fiercely. In her heart, she hated Yun Chuzhou to death. Chu Quan did not expect Yun Chuzhou to say a few words and make Mountain Master Ren agree to let her stay. Moreover, she even occupied a good position. He was also very depressed. Yun Chuzhou did not have the time to care whether they were depressed or not. At this moment, she was stunned by the beautiful scene in front of her. The flower bud on the thorn seemed to bloom at the same time. There was a touch of red in the middle of the snow-white flower. It was holy and had a hint of charm. It was a rare beautiful scene. The trees were full of flowers. Tsk. Who would have thought that the flower bud that bloomed was actually the sinister thorn? As expected, there were two sides to everything. This guy could see some life enlightenment from the flower. He even felt that he was awesome. This guy looked at it and exclaimed, "Eh? That flower's heart is black? Is it a mutation?" Chu Shanshan had wanted to find fault with Yun Chujio for a long time. When she heard Yun Chujio's words, she had a look of disdain on her face. If your eyesight is bad, then don't talk. And you're a black-hearted man. I think your heart is black. The little black bird in Yun Chujio's spiritual beast bag nodded desperately. This little bitch's words were quite reasonable. Xiao Hanio's heart was indeed black. When Chu Shanshan saw Yun Chujio squeaking, she said even more contemptuously, Yun Chujio, if I were you, I would just watch obediently. If you don't understand, don't talk nonsense. The heart of the flower that is pricked has always been red. I've never heard of it being black. Before Chu Shanshan could finish her words, everyone exclaimed one after another, Oh my God, that flower's heart is really black. How is this possible? Chu Shanshan looked in the direction that everyone was pointing at, and saw that there was indeed a flower with a black heart in the middle of the tree full of flowers. Chu Shanshan's face instantly turned as red as a monkey's butt. She felt so embarrassed. She did not blame herself. She blamed everything on Yun Chujio. Therefore, she raised her voice. She said sarcastically, Humph! I've never heard that thorns can produce black-hearted flowers. This must be because of you, a jinx. Get lost quickly, or else all the flowers might turn black. Shut up! An elder interrupted Chu Shanshan unhappily. What do you know? Do you know what a black-hearted flower means? If you don't know, then don't talk nonsense. Chu Shanshan's face turned pale. She had never been reprimanded so severely. Her eyes immediately turned red. She wanted to argue a little, but was pulled by Chu Quan. Only then did she bite her lips and stop talking. Chu Quan intended to help his sister out of the situation. He respectfully said to the elder, Elder Zhou, I have never heard of a thorny flower with a black heart. Please explain to us. Elder Zhou clearly had a good impression of Chu Quan. His expression softened a little, then he said, You all know that if a thorny seed is not treated, it will turn into powder if it falls to the ground. Have you ever thought about how a thorny seed reproduces? Chu Quan was stunned. Elder Zhou, isn't it said that the thorn is unable to reproduce, so we are the only thorn left? Elder Zhou waved his hand. You only know the first part, but you don't know the second part. The reason why a thorn cannot reproduce is because there is no way to form a black egg. Only the seed inside the black egg can be used to reproduce. And that black-hearted flower is very likely to form a black egg. Everyone cried out in surprise. So that was how it was. Elder Zhou's words were like a hard slap on Chu Shanshan's face. She even said that Yun Chujio was a jinx. This was clearly a lucky star, all right? If she could really bear a black egg, when the time came she could breed more thorns. In the future, wood peak strength would definitely increase greatly. Chu Shanshan wished that she could find a hole in the ground to hide in. In her heart, she hated Yun Chujio even more. She felt that all of this was caused by her. At this moment, the flowers on the tree began to wither at a speed visible to the naked eye, and countless eggs began to form. Among the many white eggs, there was a black egg that was particularly eye-catching. Mountain Master ran, and the few elders were so excited that they were trembling slightly. The few of them discussed it. The black egg was too important, so when the egg fell off, their task was to catch the black egg. The egg on the vine quickly began to grow and mature. Gradually, some of the eggs began to fall off. The inner disciples who were close to it began to leap up to catch the eggs. Occasionally missing content. Please report errors in time. Yun Chujio was rather eager to give it a try. However, this fellow was afraid that his reputation would be added to the mix, so he resisted the temptation and did not make a move. After coming over for a while, this fellow saw that Mountain Master Ren's attention was all on the black egg. He gritted his teeth. After all, reputation could not be used as food, so spirit stones were more important. These spiky eggs would definitely sell for a good price. It would be a waste not to snatch them. Thus, this fellow jumped up and down to catch the eggs that fell down. As this fellow stood at the front, it didn't take long for him to catch a few eggs. This fellow felt that this trip to Wood Peak wasn't in vain. He had really struck it rich. After the white egg fell down, the black egg fell down. Mountain Master Ren and the others had been watching closely, so they immediately jumped up to catch the black egg. This was originally a very stable arrangement. The disciples of Wood Peak would not have the guts to cause trouble. However, no one had expected that Yun Chujio would suddenly appear out of nowhere. She suddenly jumped up, caught the black egg, stuffed it into her mouth and swallowed it. The scene was dead silent at first, and then it exploded. What does this Yun Chujio want to do? She actually swallowed the black egg. Isn't she afraid of choking to death? I told you she was sent by the Hun Yuan sect to harm our Shi Yuan sect. It's true, right? Peak Master, she just swallowed the seed. She must have not digested it yet. It's still not too late to cut open her stomach. Yun Chujio's face was stiff. Could it be that she told everyone that the she just now was not her? Yun Chujio cursed the Guai Chao in her dantian. At that moment, Go Weiba suddenly took control of her body. When she was done causing trouble, it returned the control of her body to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio was so depressed that she wanted to vomit blood. Other people's treasures were called treasures, but her treasures were all fucking scams. She had just been swindled by the little flame, and now she was swindled by Go Weiba. Was there such a miserable master in this world? In her dantian, Guai Chao was so beautiful that it was bubbling. She didn't expect that there would be an unexpected surprise. The seed of the thorn couldn't be seen once in hundreds of thousands of years. This was a great tonic. Mountain Master Ran stared at Yun Chujio with a gloomy expression. If it wasn't for Yun Chujio's special identity, he really planned to cut open her belly and take out the seed of the thorn. What did the thorny seeds mean? If they had those seeds, the wood peak could reproduce several thorny seeds, which would greatly increase the strength of the wood peak. However, all of this was ruined by this scourge. Mountain Master Run could control his anger, but it didn't mean that the other elders could control their anger. One of the elders, Elder Wei, reached out and grabbed Yun Chujio. Spit it out. Spit out the seeds. Yun Chujio naturally would not let him grab her. She quickly dodged to the side and shouted, "It's a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. This is all a misunderstanding." Everyone was furious. A misunderstanding? What misunderstanding? They had all seen her swallow the seed with their own eyes, all right? She was purely going against the wood peak. She deserved to die. Chu Shanshan rolled her eyes. This was a great opportunity for revenge. Hence she shouted, "Everyone, let's attack together. Catch this Yun Chujio and let her spit out the seed." A few thoughts flashed through Mountain Master Ren's mind, but he did not stop her. It would be best if he could get the seed out. Even if he could not get it out, he could teach this Yun Chujio a lesson. It was too infuriating. Yun Chujio was very guilty. After all, she was in the wrong first, so she tried to explain to everyone at the beginning. However, the people of the Wood Peak were all red-eyed, so they would not listen to her explanation. They rushed forward and wanted to catch her. Yun Chujio was not stupid. If she was caught, it was possible that the crowd would beat her to death. No matter what, it was more important to save her life first. Therefore, this guy planned to escape and go to Master Zaya's place to hide. However, because the people of the Wood Peak were gathered here, there were many people. Yun Chujio had no way to escape. Yun Chujio could only retreat again and again. Gradually, she was very close to the thorn. Because she knew that there was an array separating them, Yun Chujio was not worried that the thorn would attack her. Suddenly, a thorn vine rolled Yun Chujio up. Fortunately, the vine had just borne fruit, so the thorn had not grown out in time. Otherwise, Yun Chujio would have been pierced into a sieve. No one thought that the thorn would break through the array and attack Yun Chujio. By the time everyone reacted, Yun Chujio was already gone. Mountain Master Ren's mind was blank. No matter what, he first told the disciples to quickly retreat from the thorn attack range, and then reported it to Master Xiaoho. Master Xiaoho finally got a good sleep last night. Early in the morning, He felt that his right eyelid was twitching. He felt that something was going to happen. He did not expect that, as expected, something would happen again. Moreover, it was caused by that Yun Chujio. Master Xiaohou regretted it. If he had known this would happen, he would have firmly grounded Yun Chujio yesterday. She was a troublemaker. Why did she go to the wood peak all of a sudden? It was one thing for her to go, but she actually swallowed the black egg. To take a step back, if she swallowed the black egg, she would confess her crimes. Why did she run away? Now it had disappeared into thin air. Was this disaster dead or gone somewhere? The other 3 peak masters also rushed over when they heard the news. They gathered together to analyze Yun Chujio's whereabouts. Mountain Master Zhao of the Fire Peak glanced at the thorn in the distance. Then he said, "Since Yun Chujio was attacked by the thorn and disappeared after being trapped by it, I think Yun Chujio's disappearance is most likely related to the thorn." Water Mountain's Mountain Master Mo said in confusion, "Mountain Master Zhao, although what you said makes sense, where did the thorn take Yun Chujio? It doesn't have a storage ring like us, so where did it take a living person?" Mountain Master Ren suddenly exclaimed, "I remember. The thorn was an ancient tree, so it had its own space and was usually used to store water. Could it have taken Yun Chujio into its own space?" Everyone was stunned. This was very possible. Then the question was, should they save Yun Chujio or not? If they did, there was only one way, and that was to kill the thorn. Once the thorn died, Yun Chujio, who was trapped in its space, was naturally released. However, the thorn was a treasure passed down from the wood peak, and it was the only one in the world. It was a pity to kill it just like that. Everyone present had their own opinions, but no one was willing to speak first. The atmosphere was a little stagnant. At this moment, Chu Quan, who had been watching from not far away, walked over and bowed to everyone. Then he said, "Seniors, I take the liberty to say that 15 minutes have passed since Yun Chujio went missing. I feel that Yun Chujio is basically dead. If that's the case, why should we get involved in this? Moreover, she brought this upon herself. Her death was not unjustified." Mountain Master Run berated, "Shut up. Where is your place to speak?" Even though Mountain Master Run was berating him, his tone wasn't harsh. It was obvious that he was just putting on an act. Chu Quan retreated to the side with an embarrassed expression. However, he was feeling proud in his heart. It was the stupidest thing to pick on someone like Shanshan. At the crucial moment, a few words were enough to kill someone. After scolding Chu Quan, Mountain Master Run sighed. "Everyone, although Chu Quan has overstepped his boundaries, what he said does make sense. 15 minutes have already passed, and Yun Chujio is probably dead. If that's the case, why do we still need to go all out and kill the assassins? Even if Master Bailey of the Origin Chaotic Clan comes, he won't be able to say anything. Yun Chujio brought this on herself." Although Mountain Master Zhao of the Fire Peak didn't like Yun Chujio before, if it wasn't for Yun Chujio, he wouldn't have discovered the secret on the board, so he couldn't help but say, "What you're saying is just speculation. What if the little girl is still alive? She's waiting for us to save her, but we're not going to save her. This isn't right." Mountain Master Emo of Water Mountain agreed with Mountain Master Zhao's opinion, while Mountain Master Lien of Earth Mountain agreed with Mountain Master Ren's opinion. It was 2-2. Now it was up to Master Xiaohou. Master Xiaohou felt that he had never encountered such a dilemma in his life. Should he save her or not? Master Xiaohou thought of what happened at the Divine Devil Hall, and what Master Bailey had said. He gritted his teeth. Yun Chujio won't die so easily. Save her. Naturally, no one dared to disobey Master Xiaohu's orders. Even though Mountain Master Run could not bear to kill Thorn, he could only prepare to attack together with Master Xiaohou. The 5 of them took their positions. Just as they were about to attack, they saw Thorn tremble violently and even let out a miserable cry. Everyone was stunned. What was going on? Just as everyone was stunned, a wet little girl appeared on the ground. "Fuck! Why aren't you showing off now?" Why are you attacking me? Didn't I just eat your seed? Do you have to be so stubborn? Son of a bitch. No one knew what Yoon Chujo had done, but the thorn was as obedient as a little wife. Even though Yoon Chujo scolded it fiercely, it did not attack. Yoon Chujo dried the clothes on her body and cursed a few more words before she left the thorn's attack range. Sectmaster, you're finally here. I'm going to be bullied to death by the people of the Wood Peak. Woo woo, they're going to cut open my stomach. Also, this bastard thorn almost absorbed me as nourishment. I'm so unlucky. Yoon Chujo said with an aggrieved look. Mountain Master ran and the disciples of the Wood Peak, who were watching from not far away, almost fainted from anger. Can you still have some face? Who is bullying who? Chu Shanshan was extremely disappointed when she saw that Yoon Chujo was not dead. Now that she heard Yoon Chujo inverting black and white, immediately she screamed sharply, Yoon Chujo, you're spouting nonsense. You're a jinx, you shameless bitch. You were clearly the one who swallowed the black eggs of our Wood Peak. Yet you're returning our seeds. Yoon Chujo looked at Sect Master Xiaoho with a wronged expression. Sect Master, look, even that Chu Shanshan dares to scold me and bully me like this when you are here. Can you imagine how much I have suffered before? Mountain Master Ren of the Wood Peak glared at Chu Shanshan. What a brainless thing. Yoon Chujo, I will punish the disciples of our Wood Peak for speaking rudely. Now let's talk about the problem of the black egg. You swallowed the black egg of our Wood Peak. Shouldn't you have an explanation? Yoon Chujo really wanted to shout. She didn't want to do it either, alright? It was all Go Weiba fault, alright? Mountain Master Ren, I admit that it was my fault. At that time I didn't know what went wrong in my head. It was most likely due to my color blindness, so I thought that another white egg had fallen, so I snatched it. In a moment of desperation, I stuffed it into my mouth. Yoon Chujo explained with a dry smile. Mountain Master Ren was so angry that he was twitching. Are you lying to a ghost? Even color blindness can distinguish between black and white. Okay. I don't care what your reason is. Just because of you, our Wood Peak suffered a huge loss. Shouldn't you compensate us? How about this? 300 million high-grade spirit stones. This matter will be settled. Otherwise, even if the sect master pleads for mercy for you, our Wood Peak will not agree, Mountain Master Run said coldly. 300 million high-grade spirit stones? Why didn't he rob them? This old man Run must be thinking about the spirit stone she won in the competition. How shameless. However, it was rare for this fellow to awaken her conscience. In the end, this matter was really her fault. It was reasonable to give some compensation, but 300 million was out of the question. Mountain Master Run. Everything has a cause and effect. If you really pursue this matter, you really shouldn't ask me for this money. Previously, I was originally standing behind the crowd, but it was that Chu Shanshan who seduced me to the front. If I stood at the back, wouldn't all these things disappear? Moreover, wasn't Chu Shanshan already? If it wasn't for me, there wouldn't have been a black-hearted flower. Therefore, this black egg started because of me and was swallowed by me. Isn't this fair? What money do you want from me? Yoon Chujo said with a very reasonable look. Yoon Chujo was obviously pestering him. This guy was very bad. Anyway, after saying these words, at least it made Mountain Master Run dislike Chu Shanshan and offended her little fairy Jiu. He'll torture you to death. Mountain Master Ren was so angry that he couldn't say a word. He had never seen such a shameless person. Chu Shanshan ignored Chu Quan's attempts to stop her. She scolded loudly, Yoon Chujo, you bitch. You're spouting nonsense. You were the one who wanted to steal the eggs, that's why you went to the front. What does it have to do with me? Even if you don't come, there will still be some black-hearted flowers. Don't flatter yourself. Shut up. Men, send her to the law enforcement office and lock her in the self-reflection cave. Mountain Master Ren thought for a moment, The self-reflection cave was also ruined by Yun Chujia's bad deed. He changed his words and said, "Lock her in her own courtyard and meditate. Don't come out without my orders." Chu Quan saw that Mountain Master Ran was furious and was afraid that he would demote Chu Shanshan to an outer sect disciple in a fit of anger. He quickly let a few disciples drag Chu Shanshan away. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes. Chu Shanshan's words reminded her. She smiled and said to Mountain Master Ran, "Mountain Master Ran, please calm down first. I can't run away anyway. Let's have a discussion." Mountain Master Ran snorted. The worst thing he had done was to chase out this jinx from the very beginning. There wouldn't be such trouble later on. Mountain Master Ran, actually, if I hadn't come, this thorn might not have produced a black egg. If you don't believe me, it'll help you ask the thorn. Yun Chuzhou pointed at the thorn with her finger and said, "Bastard thorn, tell me, is it because I'm here that you're so happy that you produced a black egg?" The Fire Peak's Mountain Master Zhao couldn't help but laugh out loud. It wasn't like an old hen laid an egg, but this little girl's words were really interesting. The spike had brought Yun Chuzhou into his dimension just now because it wanted to take revenge. Was it easy? It had taken hundreds of thousands of years to breed a black egg just to reproduce. Who would have thought that it would be eaten by this little girl? This was outrageous. It felt that if it strangled Yun Chuzhou with vines, it would definitely be stopped by Mountain Master Ran and the others. Therefore, it planned to poison Yun Chuzhou to death in its own space. The water in the space of the thorn was not ordinary water. It contained the venom secreted by the thorn. It thought that Yun Chuzhou would be poisoned to death once she entered. Who would have thought that not only was that little girl not poisoned to death, she even drank all the water in it. Moreover, this pervert was even prepared to use a talisman to blow up its own space. Thorn was so scared that it was trembling. It had no choice but to release Yun Chuzhou from its own space. Now that it saw Yun Chuzhou asking it fiercely, it recalled Yun Chuzhou threatening it in its space. It could only wave its vines to express its response. "Mountain Master Ran, did you see that? The bastard thorn has already admitted it. It was to welcome me that it formed a black egg. This has nothing to do with your wood peak," Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Mountain Master Ran wished he could slap her to death. Even a fool could see that that thorn was clearly afraid of her, so it responded with compromise. "Sect Master, you are a sensible person. What do you think we should do about this matter?" Mountain Master Ran finally understood. He could not win against that scoundrel Yun Chuzhou, so it was better not to waste time. Master Xiahou felt his head ache a little. Why did his brain cramp up and bring this scourge back? It was simply the stupidest decision he had ever made in his life. Now that the matter was clear, Yun Chuzhou had swallowed the black egg of the other wood peak. What else was there to say? She should just pay the compensation. This little girl just had to come up with a bunch of nonsense. It was really difficult to deal with. Before Master Xiahou could say anything, he heard Yun Chuzhou say, "Mountain Master Ran, forget it. Although it's not all my fault, I can see that you're already so old. It's not easy, so I agree to compensate you. Should I not pursue the matter of giving you 300 million high-grade spirit stones?" Everyone present was dumbfounded. Was this a tiger that didn't eat meat but ate cabbages instead? How did this little scoundrel suddenly have a conscience? Mountain Master Ran thought for a moment. No matter what, he had to get the money first. Thus he nodded his head and said, "That's right. As long as you compensate our wood peak with 300 million high-grade spirit stones, this matter will be written off and we will not pursue it any further." Yun Chuzhou nodded her head and then asked Sect Master Xiahou, "Master Sect Master, you heard it too, right? You have to help me testify. Otherwise, when the time comes, I will give the money to Mountain Master Ran and he will not admit to it anymore." Sect Master Xiahou could not wait for this matter to be over. He promised repeatedly that he would supervise Mountain Master Ran and Yun Chuzhou sighed. The human heart is hard to predict. I just found a seed in my space. Mountain Master Run, actually, if you are magnanimous enough to forgive me, I intend to give it to you. However, if you insist on being calculative with me, then I will take this seed back to the primordial chaos sect and plant it. Everyone saw that Yun Chujio was holding a shiny black seed in her hand. Occasionally missing content. Please report errors in time. Although Mountain Master Run had never seen a thorn seed before, he believed Yun Chujio's words without a doubt. He felt that Yun Chujio did not have the courage to lie to him. Therefore, he was so excited that he reached out to snatch the seed in Yun Chujio's hand. Stop! Mountain Master Run, you said something just now. Have you forgotten it so quickly? As long as I give you 300 million spirit stones, won't we be even? Yun Chujio curled her lips and said while hiding behind Master Xiaohou. Spirit stones, I don't want the spirit stones. As long as you give me the seed, we will be even. Mountain Master Ren said anxiously. Seriously, you are still so fickle at your age. Forget it, I'll give it to you. Remember, we are even. You can't take revenge on me because of this matter in the future. If you are jealous of a shrimp like me, you are a puppy. Yun Chujio said as she handed the seed to Mountain Master Ren. After obtaining the seed, Mountain Master Ren immediately ignored Yun Chujio and studied the seed with the other elders of the Wood Peak as if they were possessed. Yun Chujio shrugged her shoulders and walked to the front of Master Xiaohou and said, Master Xiaohou, I have troubled you recently. I have decided to ground myself. I won't come out for a walk for the next 2 days. Master Xiaohou was so touched that tears welled up in his eyes. He couldn't help but nod. Good. If you need anything, just look for Lung Kuei. As long as you stay in the courtyard and don't come out, anything is fine. Yun Chujio. Old man Xiaohou, do you know that you won't have any friends like this? Under the friendly gaze of the Wood Peak disciples, Yun Chujio left the Wood Peak and returned to her dormitory. In that case, did Yun Chujio really find that seed in the thorn space? Of course not. If there were seeds in the thorn space, they would have been used to reproduce long ago. There were more than 10 seeds in a black egg. Yun Chujio tried her best to get one out of Guai Chao's mouth. Although this fellow had a black heart, it wasn't black to the end. She felt that it was better to leave one for the Wood Peak. This fellow was familiar with human nature. If she had only taken out this seed, Mountain Master Run would definitely have made her compensate him. He felt that it was because of her that he had lost the other seeds. However, after all this trouble, if she took out this seed again, not only would he not be resentful, he would definitely be grateful. This was a setup. Of course, she could blackmail Mountain Master Ren, but for the sake of the rest of her life, it was better to forget about it. As for why this fellow wanted to ground her, it was because this fellow felt that he had been too high profile recently to avoid attracting too much hatred, so it was better to give up for a few days. There was another reason. That was because she received a voice transmission talisman from Di Biming, saying that she would be able to rush to the origin killing sect tonight after the matter was settled. A certain Zhou tidied up the house and got Mao Mao Chiu to bring out a lot of wild flowers from the Great Void Mystic Realm, decorating the house very warmly. After finishing everything, she scolded Guai Chao while waiting for Di Biming to arrive. Guai Chao was already used to it. If he wanted to scold it, he could scold it. After all, there would be a lot of leaves missing. If he scolded it casually and did not get scolded every few days, it would not be used to it. Yun Chujio held her chin and pondered. The gigolo said that he was going to fetch something. What was it exactly that he was going to fetch? Just as the gigolo was pondering, Di Biming walked in from outside. A certain Zhou thought sourly in her heart, it's still better to have high spiritual power. Looking at the gigolo coming in and out of the sky killing sect, it's as if he's playing around. He's so cool. Di Biming was still dressed in white. He saw that the house had been meticulously tidied up, and there was food on the table. Most importantly, his wife was looking at him with a smile. He suddenly felt that everything was worth it. Prince Charming, did everything go smoothly? Yun Chujo helped Di Biming wash his hands and face. Seeing Yun Chujia's attitude, Di Biming unconsciously smiled. How have you been these few days? Did you get into trouble? Yun Chujo thought to herself, great. It was simply wonderful. This guy was afraid that Di Biming would say that she was a demon. Last time, because of helping Xiao Hanyo to snatch the fire of nirvana, Di Biming almost died. He lost his temper. This time, in order to look for the little flame, she almost became a monkey. How would she dare to say that? She just laughed and said a few perfunctory words. Di Biming did not care too much. He felt that he had only left for a few days, so nothing major should happen. How would he know that the person in front of him was a troublemaker? In just a few days he had almost turned the sky and earth upside down. The two of them sat down and ate as they chatted. Yun Chujo asked, Prince Charming, did Wu Jia's brain and the little madman improve quickly? They're not too useless. The main thing is that if they don't become stronger, they'll lose their lives. Naturally, they'll become stronger. Di Biming said indifferently. Yun Chujo knew that the words, not too useless, from this guy's mouth meant that he was not bad. With the help of the two of them, the pretty boy would also be able to relax a little. After dinner, Yun Chujo insisted that Di Biming accompany her to the roof to look at the stars. A certain Zhou who hated the heavens felt that this was an insult to her intelligence, but she could not resist the coquetry of a certain Zhou. She could only carry Yun Chujo and jump onto the roof. Prince Charming, look at how beautiful the starry sky is. I can't tell. Prince Charming, can you see over there? That's the cowherd in Vega Star, the one who met on Magpie Bridge. That cowherd is such a good for nothing. If it's me, it'll kill anyone who tries to stop us from being together. Prince Charming, look, it's a shooting star. Hurry up and make a wish. Childish. Fuck, can we still have a proper relationship? A certain Zhou glared at a certain Zhou with all her might. An arrogant and unromantic person. A certain Zhou saw that certain Zhou's eyes were sparkling, and she suddenly felt blessed and said, Little Zhou, your eyes are even more beautiful than the stars in the sky. A certain Zhou was instantly healed. Her little face flushed red as she leaned on Di Biming's body, feeling that everything was so beautiful. A certain Zhou lowered her head, and the two of them kissed. A certain Zhou suddenly understood the beauty of looking at the stars. She could still come out often in the future to take a look. This tone this true self liked. The two of them, who were bubbling in pink bubbles, lingered for a long time. It was not until late at night that they returned to the house. After the two of them washed up briefly, they lay on the bed. Di Biming hugged his fragrant and soft little wife. It was as if a ball of fire was burning in his heart. However, he could only burn it dry and could not put out the fire. Hence, Guai Chao suffered another round of mixed scoldings from both men and women. He took it as a compliment. He thought to himself it was a good thing that he was mentally strong. Otherwise, he would definitely be scolded and depressed. After a good night's sleep, the next day, the two of them had just eaten breakfast when Di Biming frowned. Someone is here. Di Biming looked very unhappy. It was really not a good time. It was not easy for him to stay with his little wife for a few days. Why would he come if he had nothing to do? Di Biming entered the house unwillingly. Yun Chujo removed the isolation array and opened the courtyard door. She saw Lung Kuei standing outside. Senior brother Lung. Why are you looking for me? Lung Kuei snorted. Do you think I'm willing to look for you? Isn't it because master is afraid that you won't keep your word and cause trouble again? He asked me to look after you. Yun Chujia's heart was like a mutt. Was her credibility so bad now? Old man Xiaoho still sent Leng Kuei to look after her? What happened to the trust between people? Was it all fed to the dogs? Senior brother Leng, don't worry. I won't go out. I'll stay in the courtyard obediently for the next few days. Yun Chujo said confidently. Leng Kuei looked at her with disdain. You said that you wouldn't cause any trouble 2 days ago. In the end, you swallowed the black egg of the Wood Peak yesterday. Look at you. Ever since you came, our Shuyuan sect has never stopped. Forget about the gambling. After all, they are stupid. Did you cause the Fire Peak's plaque in the self-reflection cave? Because of you, the self-reflection cave hasn't been used properly, not to mention the Wood Peak's black egg. Yun Chujo was afraid that if Leng Kuei said anything more, Di Biming would notice the flaws. She quickly interrupted. Senior brother Leng, I will stay in the courtyard obediently this time. If you don't believe me, I swear. If I go out to cause trouble again, I will be struck by lightning. Is that all right? All right, if that's the case, then I will go back. I'm warning you, if you continue to cause trouble like blowing up the self-reflection cave and swallowing the black egg, even my master will not be able to protect you. Leng Kuei did not want to stay here either. Firstly, he did not like Yun Chujo, and secondly, the spiritual energy at the foot of the mountain was thin. Therefore, seeing that Yun Chujo had sworn, he turned around and left. Yun Chujo closed the door and turned around. She saw Di Biming staring at her gloomily. What happened to the self-reflection cave and the black swallowing egg? Didn't you say that nothing happened? Yun Chujo kicked the small stone on the ground with a guilty conscience. It's just a small matter. It's just a small matter. A small matter? Why would the disciples of the sect leader keep an eye on you for a small matter? Are they afraid that you will go out and cause trouble? Di Biming was indeed arrogant, but it did not mean that his thoughts were not meticulous. Yun Chujo had no choice but to cut corners and tell him the whole story. Then she said weakly, Prince Charming, I have no choice. I was forced to do it, so it can be forgiven, right? Di Biming sneered, no choice? No choice. Let me ask you, if you did not take the initiative to steal the Fire Peak's plaque, would there be anything after that? The 10,000-year-old fire marrow is much more powerful than you think. What could happen to it? Taking a step back, you didn't even think about it clearly, yet you carelessly went to flirt with others just to enter a self-reflection cave. Aren't you wrong? Also, if you didn't go to the Wood Peak to join in the fun, would there be any black egg matter? Yun Chujo was so guilty that she didn't even dare to look at Di Biming. She encouraged herself. Little Joe, can you be a little tougher? What's there to be afraid of? Aren't you fine now? Aren't you jumping around? This fellow had been hinting for a long time before he straightened his back and said, Prince Charming, everything you said is right, but am I not fine now? I will pay attention next time. Di Biming snorted coldly. Write a self-reflection. Write it now. A certain Joe wanted to resist, but seeing Di Biming's gloomy face, she resigned herself to fate and took out a pen and paper to write a self-reflection. This fellow comforted himself. It's not like he hadn't written it before. If he wrote it, then so be it. Just treat it as practicing calligraphy. This fellow couldn't remember how many self-criticism letters he had written in the past, so he wrote a random number and wrote a piece of paper in a carefree manner before handing it over to Di Biming. Di Biming glanced at it and said with disdain, "You dog-like calligraphy hasn't improved at all. Since you have the time to cause trouble everywhere, you might as well practice your calligraphy." A certain Joe cursed in her heart. "Practice your head. Although my writing isn't good, my drawing of yours is very good." Thus, this fellow's thoughts went astray. Di Biming read through the self-criticism book. Although he felt that it was more perfunctory, it could be considered as a little caution. Thus he said, although the words are ugly, the content is passable. Do you know that it's wrong? A certain Joe did not say anything. Di Biming frowned and raised his voice. Little Joe, What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about your fruit. I'm thinking about you. Of course I'm thinking about what you said. I was wrong. In the future I will definitely think twice before I act. I will never make the same mistake again. I promise. A certain Joe was so close that she almost let it slip. D. Biming nodded in satisfaction. He said earnestly, Little Joe, it's not that I'm harsh on you. It's just that your spiritual power is too low right now. Although you can crush the jade token I gave you at the critical moment and I can come and help you, if you are locked in a secret realm or something like that, I'm powerless. Yoon Chujia's heart warmed when she heard what D. Biming said. To be able to make this handsome gigolo say that he was powerless, it could only mean that he was very concerned about her safety. Yoon Chujio hugged D. Biming's waist. There was a layer of water vapor in her eyes. Yes, my Prince Charming, I know. I will definitely pay attention in the future. Prince Charming, you have to pay attention to your safety too. We are all safe and sound. This is the best thing. D. Biming lowered his head and wanted to kiss Yoon Chujio. He suddenly frowned. Damn it, who was it? Why is it so hard to stay quietly with my little wife? A sharp scolding came from outside the courtyard. Yoon Chujio, little bitch, come out. Aren't you going to the competition stage? I'm here to challenge you. Yoon Chujio frowned. Chu Shanshan? Wasn't she already grounded? Why did she come out today? It was probably because Chu Quan was pleading on her behalf. Yoon Chujio was about to go out to take a look when she heard Chu Shanshan screaming again and again, followed by the sound of a heavy object landing on the ground. Yoon Chujio leaned against the crack of the door and looked. She saw Chu Shanshan lying under a tree hundreds of feet away. It seemed that she had fallen unconscious. Chu Shanshan's followers were screaming and shouting to save her. Yoon Chujio turned her head. She heard D. Biming say coldly, If I wasn't afraid of trouble, I would have taken her dog life. Where did she live? I'll kill her at night. Those people following me aren't good either. I'll kill them for you. Yoon Chujio was already immune to the killing intent of a certain deity. She said disdainfully, She's just a little grasshopper. She probably found a formation plate that forbids the use of talismans, so she came to challenge me. Humph. Even if I don't use talismans, I can still kill her. D. Biming saw Yoon Chujia's delicate appearance and immediately put the matter of killing people to the back of his mind. He hugged a certain Joe and kissed her. Chu Shanshan, who was unlucky outside, got up and rushed out of the courtyard again. Before she could open her mouth to curse, she flew out again. This time it was coincidentally the roof of the big kitchen. Occasionally missing content. Please report errors in time. In the big kitchen, everyone was chatting as they worked. Naturally, the focus of their discussion could not be separated from a certain Joe who had been playing tricks recently. Everyone was rejoicing. Fortunately, they had stopped in time and did not provoke Yoon Chujio. Otherwise, this fellow would even dare to blow up his self-reflection hole. If they provoked her, they might even blow up the big kitchen. Just as everyone was talking, they heard a bang. A person fell from the roof and coincidentally fell onto the stove. Coincidentally, there was half a pot of hot porridge in the pot. A certain someone finally quietly and smoothly got what he wanted. He kissed his little wife until she was in a mess. The sky and earth were dark. A certain someone looked at his little wife's confused expression and felt very pleased. It seemed that little Joe was completely convinced by his charm. Then he heard his wife say, Prince Charming, you can play by yourself for a while. I'll go and take a look at that little bitch's sorry state. Yoon Chujio did not wait for D. Biming to speak after she finished speaking. She pushed open the courtyard door and ran towards the big kitchen. A certain someone was stunned on the spot. Her lonely figure was even more lonely than that half-dead tree. Where was the sweetness that they had agreed upon? What happened to the intimacy? Yoon Chujio saw a hole in the roof of the big kitchen from afar. Amidst the chaotic sounds, Chu Shanshan's shrill scream was especially pleasant to the ears. Yoon Chujio stood at the entrance of the big kitchen and looked inside. She saw Chu Shanshan's hair and body covered in hot porridge. Her face was also full of blisters. She looked as embarrassed as she could be. Hey, what's going on? Chu Shanshan, didn't you want me to go on the competition stage? Why did you come to the kitchen to have porridge? Yun Chujo hugged her shoulders and smiled proudly. Bitch. I'm going to kill you. Chu Shanshan rushed at Yun Chujo like she was crazy. She felt that all of this was caused by Yun Chujo. She had to kill this bitch today. Yun Chujo naturally would not just stand there and wait to be beaten. With a light leap, she jumped out of the kitchen and threw a large oil paper bag of chili noodles at Chu Shanshan. Chu Shanshan did not know that Yun Chujo would be so wicked. She was in a hurry to kill Yun Chujo, so she smashed the oil paper bag into pieces. Boom! The chili noodles in the oil paper bag blew on Chu Shanshan's face. Her face was already covered in blisters, but now that the chili noodles were on it, the sour feeling was indescribable. Ah! 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 Yun Chujo, bitch! Chu Shanshan was in pain and anger. She rolled her eyes and actually fainted with a choking sound. Yun Chujo touched her nose and said to the crowd, "Did you all see that? I didn't do anything. Her physical fitness is too poor." She actually fainted after running a few steps. She really lacks exercise. The crowd was speechless. Could you be any more shameless? You didn't do anything. What else do you want to do by sprinkling chili noodles on her wound? Chu Shanshan's lackeys saw her sorry state and forcefully endured the discomfort to wake her up. Bitch, just you wait. I'm not done with you. After Chu Shanshan finished her harsh words, the lackeys helped her out of the kitchen. Yun Chujo shrugged her shoulders and said it as if she didn't do it today, she would be able to forget her past with a smile. Pretentious. Yun Chujo turned around and took a few steps forward. The people in the kitchen subconsciously took a few steps back. Fatty Wong said with a trembling voice, "Yun, junior sister Yun, what? What are you doing? Why are you so nervous?" "I'm just looking for something to eat," Yun Chujo said speechlessly. When Fatty Wong heard Yun Chujia's words, it was as if he had been injected with stimulants. He shouted loudly, "Don't just stand there. Didn't you hear junior sister Yun say that she wants to find something to eat? Hurry up and cook your specialty dishes for junior sister Yun. That someone hurry up and make the noodles. That old Xia hurry up and make the soup." After hearing Fatty Wong's words, the people in the big kitchen immediately became excited. They didn't care about the big hole in their heads that leaked air and started to get busy. Yun Chujio. This fellow was very proud in his heart. Such treatment even old man Xiaoho wouldn't have it, right? After you're done, send it to my courtyard. I'll go back first. Yun Chujio said to Fatty Wong. Fatty Wong wiped the cold sweat off his head, nodded and bowed. Junior sister Yun, don't worry. When they're done, I'll get someone to send them to you. There's also a new batch of fruits in the kitchen. I'll send them to you as well. Yun Chujio nodded. Fatty Wong, you've been improving very quickly recently. You'll definitely have a great development in the future. Work hard, I have high hopes for you. Fatty Wong thought to himself, he didn't know if there would be a great development. He only had one dream now, and that was when the 3 months were up, this great aunt should get lost quickly. It would be best if she didn't come back in the future. Yun Chujio returned to the dormitory with satisfaction. Seeing that Di Biming wasn't in the courtyard, she pushed open the door and walked in. She saw Di Biming reading a book. Idol, you didn't see it. Chu Shanshan fell into the porridge pot. And then I showed her a face full of spicy noodles. This is terrible. Ha ha ha. Di Biming did not speak. Idol, I asked the kitchen to cook some food. We can keep it for lunch. Di Biming was still reading and did not speak. Idol, did you hear what I said? Di Biming did not even raise his head, let alone talk to her. Ahem, Idol, what I want to say is that your book is upside down. Di Biming subconsciously changed the direction of the book and realized that he had been tricked. Now it was upside down, okay? Di Biming snorted and threw the book on the desk. He said to Yun Chujio, get out. I want to be alone. Prince Charming, are you angry? What did I do to make you unhappy? A certain Joe asked timidly. Get out. I don't want to talk to you. Biming thought of the desolate scene just now and felt his heart suffocate. He actually left him alone in the yard just to look at an ugly monster. The black thing was increasingly disregarding him. Yoon Chujo saw that she had admitted defeat and Biming was still acting tough. Her temper flared up. She pointed at Biming's nose and shouted, "You don't want to talk to me? I don't want to talk to you. Look at you now, you're acting like you're so arrogant. Why are you so arrogant?" No matter how powerful you are, aren't you still the same nose and two eyes? You scolded me and asked me to write a self-reflection letter. What did I say? Do you think I'm really afraid of you? I'm just giving in to you. Giving in, do you know what that means? I'm treating you like an insensible child. Get lost. Do you think I want to see your constipated face? I won't serve you anymore. You're just a shameless, arrogant fool. If I return it, it'll be your grandson. After Yoon Chujo said that, she slammed the door and went out. Yoon Chujo left the courtyard in a huff. Damn it, I've had enough. They were all men trying to make their girlfriends happy, but she had to coax that arrogant fool who was always insulting the heavens and the earth. She would lose her face every few days and serve whoever she wanted. Anyway, she wouldn't serve anyone anymore. This fellow walked for a while in a huff before he remembered. Damn it, that was my courtyard. If he wanted to leave, he should have told the gigolo to leave. He was really mad. However, since he had come out, there was no reason for him to go back. It was also good to find someone to vent his anger on. He should go and cheat. Therefore, this fellow went to the big kitchen with a gloomy face. Fatty Wong quickly went up to her and asked, "Junior Sister Yoon, why are you back?" "Why? This big kitchen is your territory. Can't I come?" Fatty Wong almost vomited blood. He could only say embarrassedly, "I can come, I can come." "You can come as you please." Yoon Chujo walked to the side of her personal stove and sat on the small horse. She stared at the crowd with a gloomy face. The atmosphere in the big kitchen suddenly dropped to the freezing point. Everyone was careful, afraid to provoke this female fiend. The saddest one was the handyman who cut the vegetables. He didn't dare to make too much noise, so he could only cut the vegetables gently bit by bit. It was simply too torturous. After 2 hours of hard work, all the dishes were ready. Yoon Chujo put the dishes into her storage ring, and then left the big kitchen. When the people in the big kitchen saw that the bad guy had finally left, they felt as if they had survived a disaster. Damn, the atmosphere in the room just now was suffocating. Okay? It was really strange. She was clearly a little girl at the 6th layer of the spiritual mystery realm. Why did it make people feel scared from the bottom of their hearts? Yoon Chujo walked out of the big kitchen and was at a loss. Where was she going? She had already made a promise to Lung Kuei that she would not run around anymore. If she were to go wandering around, would that count as not keeping her word? This guy thought for a moment. Behind the big kitchen was the back mountain of Jinfeng, so there should not be any trouble there. Therefore, this guy went to the back mountain of Jinfeng with a gloomy face and casually broke a branch. Then he found a big rock and sat down. He took the branch and whipped it hard on the ground. "You little gigolo. I'll whip you. I'll whip you to death. Arrogant. Shameless. Do you think I care about you? Pa. Narcissist." How could that fragile little branch withstand this guy's whipping? It broke after a few whips. This guy was so angry that he threw the remaining half of his hand away. What kind of lousy thing is this? Even you are bullying me. Squeak squeak. The twig that Yoon Chujo casually threw had hit some demon beast. Only a miserable cry could be heard. Yoon Chujo turned her head and saw a gray shadow running into the depths of the forest. This fellow was feeling extremely bored and quickly got up to chase after it. The demon beasts that lived in the back mountain were mostly low-level demon beasts. Therefore, Yoon Chujo did not spend much effort to chase after it. It turned out to be a long-eared wind-blade rabbit. When the long-eared wind-blade rabbit saw Yun Chujo chasing after it, it ran as fast as it could and went into a cave, disappearing without a trace. Yun Chujo suddenly felt dispirited. So it was such a small thing. She was tired of eating rabbit meat. Forget it, she could spare it with kindness. Thinking of this, Yun Chujo was about to turn around and leave. Suddenly, she narrowed her eyes and took a few steps forward. There seemed to be something wrong with this rabbit hole. A normal rabbit hole was only the size of a rabbit's body. This was to prevent predators from entering. However, this rabbit hole was a little too big. No matter how she looked at it, it did not look like a rabbit hole. Yun Chujo curiously walked to the side of the cave and observed it. The wild grass around the cave did not look different from the wild grass beside it, which meant that the cave should have existed a long time ago. Could it be that this cave was dug by another large-scale demon beast, and then occupied by this long-eared wind-blade rabbit? Yun Chujo felt that this explanation was still reasonable, so she stood up and prepared to leave. At this moment, she heard the long-eared wind-blade rabbit's miserable cry from the depths of the cave. It was so shrill, as if it had encountered something terrible. Yun Chujo could not help but laugh. Since you had burrowed into the other person's cave, you naturally took the initiative to deliver yourself to the other person as a snack. What's the use of shouting now? Yun Chujo took a few steps forward. After thinking for a while, she turned back and muttered, "Forget it, I'll show mercy once. I hope it's not too late." The reason why this guy was so kind was because he felt that she was like this rabbit. He clearly knew that the pretty boy was an arrogant maniac, but he still wanted to get close to her. Wasn't he just looking for trouble? It could only be said that it was easy for people who had fallen out of love to connect the dots. They could even connect the dots when they saw a rabbit. This guy took a few steps back. He faced the entrance of the cave and shot out several bolts of lightning. He shouted, "Hey! Listen to me, the demonic beast inside. That rabbit is my pet. If you dare to eat it, I'll roast you." It was unknown whether it was because the soil in the back mountain was too loose or Yun Chujo's lightning was too powerful. After a few bolts of lightning from this fellow, a large area around the cave collapsed. Curious Joe also fell down miserably. That poor long-eared wind-blade rabbit was currently being swallowed by a bloodthirsty giant python. Only a pair of long rabbit ears were still exposed. Yun Chujo shot several bolts of lightning at the 7 inches of the giant bloodthirsty python. Even though this fellow was a weakling in front of Master Xiaoho and the others, in front of these low-level demon beasts, he was simply a formidable fiend. The giant bloodthirsty python was only a level 20 demon beast. How could it withstand her attack? Its body was in pain. It opened its mouth and spat out the poor long-eared wind-blade rabbit. Yun Chujo did not stop until the giant bloodthirsty python was dead. Although the miserable long-eared wind-blade rabbit did not die, it was timid to begin with. Now it was so scared that it was trembling. "Alright, I won't kill you. Run for your life." When the long-eared wind-blade rabbit heard Yun Chujo's words, it stood up and ran into the depths of the cave in a panic. Yun Chujo was so angry that she laughed. "This is really a stupid rabbit. Why don't you run out of the cave instead?" Yun Chujo was also bored and followed the rabbit into the cave. The long-eared wind-blade rabbit was also scared out of its mind. When it saw that Yun Chujo had actually followed it, it used its 4 claws to dig at the wall of the cave desperately. It was obvious that it was planning to dig a hole to escape. Yun Chujo hugged her shoulders and watched from the side. How could there be such a stupid rabbit? This fellow was also quite wicked. It took out a small pony from its storage ring and sat on it to watch the rabbit dig a hole. The long-eared wind-blade rabbit felt that it was really unlucky. It was perfectly fine eating grass, but it was smashed by this fiend's branch. "Let's dig a hole," and we even met a bloodthirsty python. Now the evil star was still eyeing it from the side. What was she going to do? The long-eared wind-blade rabbit did not believe that Yun Chujo would not kill it. If she did not want to kill it, why did she not leave? Why was she staring at it? She must have planned to wait until it was exhausted from digging the hole before eating it. Bad silver. just as the long-eared wind-blade rabbit was trying its best to dig a hole. It heard that evil star casually say, "Tsusuke, your digging skills are really not that good. I heard that a crafty rabbit has 3 burrows. With a weakling like you, it would probably take you a lifetime to dig 3 burrows, right?" The long-eared wind-blade rabbit felt that it had received 10,000 points of damage, but it did not dare to go against Yun Chujo. It could only desperately dig, 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 plop. Yun Chujo only heard a plop, and then there was no more movement. She stood up in surprise and was momentarily dumbfounded. What was going on? Could there be a hole behind this hole? Yun Chujo threw a sudden cracked talisman into the tunnel that the long-eared wind-blade rabbit had dug earlier. After the explosion, Yun Chujo found that the inside was actually hollow, with the faint sound of running water. Yun Chujo immediately understood. There should be an underground river down there. The unlucky long-eared wind-blade rabbit must have fallen into the underground river, which was why there was a splash. Yun Chujo took out the luminous pearl and shone it on it. Sure enough, there was an underground river down there, but the flow was very slow, so the sound of the water was not loud. The unlucky long-eared wind-blade rabbit had climbed up the rock by the side of the underground river, with a look of despair on its face. Yun Chujo sat on the chopping board and flew down. The long-eared wind-blade rabbit did not move at all. It had already accepted its fate. If it was willing to eat it, then it would eat it. Yun Chujo walked to the side of the dark river and looked around. She did not know where this dark river flowed from. If it was discovered, it would definitely be a hidden danger to the Origin Killing Sect. Because if someone sneaked into the Origin Killing Sect from the dark river, no one would discover it. It would be completely undetectable. Yun Chujo thought of this and decided to explore along the underground river. Anyway, she did not want to go back and face D. Biming's ugly face now. She might as well swim. "Rabbit, I want to go down and swim. Come with me?" Yun Chujo said while holding the long ears of the long-eared wind-blade rabbit. The long-eared wind-blade rabbit rolled its eyelids and fainted from anger. "It was a rabbit, not a fish, okay? Swim my ass." Yun Chujo could not help but laugh. She put the rabbit into her spirit beast bag and jumped into the dark river. The dark river was deeper than she had imagined. She swam down the river and swam for 2 hours before she realized that there was light coming in. It seemed like she was going out. However, when she swam to a place where there was light, she could not help but be a little surprised. In front of her was a stone wall. There were some cracks on the stone wall, and the water in the dark river flowed out through the cracks. Only then did this fellow understand why the flow of water was so slow, and why the water from the underground river was so deep. It was because the exit was too narrow, which was why it was like this. However, this was also good. This way, people with ulterior motives would not be able to use it to sneak into the Origin Killing Sect. However, this was still not too safe. When there was an opportunity, she would explore what exactly this place was. Thinking of this, he swam back to the place where he fell. After thinking for a while, he felt that it was still early, so he swam up again to see where the other end of the underground river led to. Therefore, he started swimming again. After swimming for 4 hours, she saw a light shining in. To her surprise, the source was only a few narrow stone cracks, and the water was slowly seeping down. Yun Chujo touched her chin. She guessed that there was either a spring or a stream. Since there was not much water seeping down, no one would notice it. As for the water seeping down, it had formed an underground river after many years. It was not formed overnight. It should have been thousands of years or even tens of thousands of years. Yun Chujo felt that her journey of searching for secrets had come to an end for the time being. When she had the chance, she would investigate the place up there again. Otherwise, if she were to go out so rashly, she would probably be disliked again. Just as this fellow was about to leave, he vaguely heard someone speak again. "Senior brother, I heard that Yun Chujo has asked to be grounded. I reckon that our Shi Yuan sect will be quiet for a few days. Fortunately, she didn't come up to our water mountain. Otherwise, our treasures might have suffered. Isn't that so? I heard that Yun Chujo is a foodie. If she knew that our water mountain's lotus pond has the extremely delicious green jade lotus root, she would definitely come and harm us. That's right. However, we can't let our guard down. We must constantly keep an eye on the movements of that scourge so that we won't be caught off guard. A certain Joe's eyes instantly lit up. Green jade lotus root? My goodness, isn't this the only type of lotus root in the world that doesn't grow in the mud? I heard that the taste of that lotus root when eaten raw is even sweeter than a spirit fruit. If it was stewed in soup, it would be so fresh that it would make one swallow their tongue. Now the question was, would she go along with it or not? Entering the treasure mountain empty-handed was clearly not this fellow's character. Therefore, this fellow did not have any mental struggles. After the two disciples left, she took out her large kitchen knife and started to chop. After all, she could just use something to block it. Moreover, she was also a member of the murderous Yuan sect. It was not a big deal to eat a few lotus roots, right? Yes, that was it. It really was nothing. This fellow had always been willful. Moreover, she did not have any absolute concept of right and wrong. Therefore, it was impossible to rely on her three views of the world. After she cut a gap, she leaned out to take a look. Immediately, she grinned. A pool full of green jade lotus roots and snow-white lotus roots seemed to be waving at her. TSK, this kind of green jade lotus root was still the best. It looked clean and tender. It was simply too tempting, wasn't it? This fellow was afraid that the long night would bring more trouble. So she specially picked the largest green jade lotus root and stuffed it into her storage ring. This fellow was listless and evil. She only took the lotus root away, but the lotus leaves on it did not move at all. Therefore, it was estimated that no one would notice it in a short while. This fellow felt that it was almost done, so she went back into the underground river. After mending the gap, she swam back in satisfaction. This fellow was afraid that someone would notice it, so she climbed up and covered the cave tightly. Anyway, there were a lot of big rocks in her storage ring. After filling it up, she covered it with soil. She even sprinkled some grass seeds on it, and used some diluted guaichao juice to accelerate the growth. Soon there was no difference between it and other places. It was perfect. Only then did Yun Chujo release the sad long-eared wind-blade rabbit. The long-eared wind-blade rabbit looked around with a confused face. Who was it? Where was it? This was clearly a cave before. Why did it turn into a grassland now? Yun Chujo threw a few hemostatic pills to it. Here, this is your compensation. Don't go into a hole just because you see it, idiot. After saying that, Yun Chujo hopped away from the back of the mountain. This fellow's heartbreak had already been cured by the green jade lotus. Since he had nowhere else to go, he would just go back to his dormitory. As for the vicious words that he had let go of earlier, Tiske, who hadn't said a few angry words before, could he really take it seriously? Moreover, that was my courtyard. Why should the pretty boy occupy it? This fellow walked valiantly towards the dormitory. Unfortunately, when he was a few hundred feet away from the courtyard, he chickened out. She had scolded the gigolo in the morning. If she were to go back now, would she be subjected to some domestic violence? However, the sky was getting darker and darker. There was no place to go if she didn't go back. Hence, this fellow rubbed his way to the entrance of the courtyard. He pushed the door open and peeked inside. When this fellow saw that Di Biming was not in the courtyard, he heaved a sigh of relief. He pushed the door open and sneaked into the courtyard. This fellow had been mentally preparing himself for a long time. He was scolding himself, but look at your cowardly appearance. What was there to be afraid of? Didn't he just scold him a little? How could he eat you up? Besides, what he scolded was reasonable. What was there to be afraid of? Even so, this guy still couldn't move his legs. He turned his eyes and took out a wine gourd from his storage ring. The wine strengthened the courage of a hero. He was going all out. This guy drank 2 mouthfuls and didn't feel anything. He gulped down a few mouthfuls before putting away the wine gourd. Why did it feel like the world was spinning? Damn it, I drank too much. Although this guy tried his best to stay calm, the alcohol quickly came back to him. Instantly, Coward 9 became Hero 9. Hero 9 walked to the door and kicked it open. D. Biming was sitting on the chair and looking at her coldly. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a beauty before? Gigolo, you don't have good intentions. Get out of my way and don't bother me. Damn, it felt so good to say whatever he wanted. D. Biming already knew that Yoon Chujio was back. Now that he saw how drunk she was, he was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Didn't you say that if you came back, you would be my grandson? Why did you come back? Grandpa pretty boy, I'm back. Go get me some foot washing water. A certain Joe collapsed on the chair and pointed at D. Biming with a smile. D. Biming. Only this black thing in front of him was able to describe his grandson as an ancestor. Didn't I tell you that you're not allowed to drink? Have you forgotten? Huh. D. Biming slammed the table and shouted coldly. Of course I haven't forgotten, but why should I listen to you? I'm drinking now, what can you do to me? Let me tell you, Gigolo, don't think that I'm afraid of you, I'm not afraid of you. This guy was even addicted to calling himself a grandson. Ichimpich, isn't that just giving in? Didn't you say that I'm an insensible child so you gave in to me? A trace of hurt flashed in D. Biming's eyes. He didn't expect that the black thing was just giving in to him. Wrong. 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 You bastard. That's not giving in, that's love. Love, do you understand? If someone else was shouting in front of me, fuck, I would have killed him long ago. Yoon Chujio pointed at D. Biming, she shouted loudly. D. Biming was stunned. So it wasn't giving in, it was love? You gigolo, today your grandson will teach you what love is. What is love? Love is tolerance, love is tolerance. You clearly can't stand your arrogant attitude. But your grandson still wants to be with you. Do you know why? Because I love you, I love everything about you, including your shortcomings, including your shamelessness. Sob, I'm so wronged. I've already treated you like this, yet you still scold me and always give me face. You bastard. A certain Joe was originally speaking righteously, but in the blink of an eye, she was crying like a baby. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.